Coast, West Coast, West Coast. You know the West Coast is back. You know the West Coast, West Coast, West Coast. You know the West Coast, West Coast, West Coast. You know the West Coast, West Coast, West Coast. You know the West Coast, West Coast is back. You know the West Coast, West Coast, West Coast. You know the West Coast, West Coast, West Coast. You know the West Coast, West Coast, West Coast. You know the West Coast, West Coast is back. You know the West Coast, West Coast, West Coast. You know the West Coast, West Coast, West Coast. You know the West Coast, West Coast, West Coast. You know the West Coast, West Coast is back. You know the West Coast is back. You know the West Coast,
Switchy.
back, 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 West Coast, back, back, West Coast is back, 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 back. You know the West Coast is back, 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 West Coast, back, back, West Coast is back, 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 back. You know the West Coast is back. You know the West Coast, West Coast, West Coast. You know the West Coast, West Coast, West Coast. You know the West Coast, West Coast, West Coast. You know the West Coast, West Coast is back. You know the West Coast, West Coast, West Coast. You know the West Coast, West Coast, West Coast. You know the West Coast, West Coast, West Coast. You know the West Coast, West Coast is back. You know the West Coast, West Coast, West Coast. You know the West Coast, West Coast, West Coast. You know the West Coast, West Coast, West Coast. You know the West Coast, West Coast is back. You know the West Coast, West Coast, West Coast. You know the West Coast, West Coast, West Coast. You know the West Coast, West Coast, West Coast. You know the West Coast, West Coast is back. You know the West Coast is back. You know the West Coast,
Switchy.
back, 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 West Coast, back, back, West Coast is back, 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 back. You know the West Coast is back, 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 West Coast, back, back, West Coast is back, 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 back. You know the West Coast is back. You know the West Coast, West Coast, West Coast. You know the West Coast, West Coast, West Coast. You know the West Coast, West Coast, West Coast. You know the West Coast, West Coast is back. You know the West Coast, West Coast, West Coast. You know the West Coast, West Coast, West Coast. You know the West Coast, West Coast, West Coast. You know the West Coast, West Coast is back. regime. I'm falling through this empty space of me. All alone, I feel the darkness trapping me inside. All alone, I can't combat this. Bring me out alive. 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 Let's go.
And with that, we're live.
Right on.
Good afternoon.
All right. Ready?
Hey.
Ready as we'll ever be.
All right. Welcome to our charity live stream, Nerd Crusade and Friends Holiday Rush, in support of 630 Chad's Sound Anonymous. To introduce myself, I'm Beastie Boy.
I'm Table.
I'm Red.
It is I, Shino Brando.
And we'll be doing a live podcast episode, interviews, giveaways, and games. And don't forget to share with friends, grab some food, stay hydrated, and enjoy the show.
Hydrate before you dihydrate, please and thanks.
Yes.
So,
All right.
as the
So,
image we've been sharing across all social media, the first thing we'll be beginning our show with this afternoon is us building the rest of the Super Smash Bros. DLC Bundle 2 for Super Smash Bros. On Nintendo Switch.
we had 4 slots. We have 4 people. It only made sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Might as well take our swing at it.
So, Beastie,
Yes.
who are you bringing to the table?
I am bringing the magnificent Dante from Devil May Cry.
I mean, was there any other choice here?
No, of course not. I mean, besides Travis Touchdown, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
Anyways.
But he's already in our awesome game. Why don't you give us a little bit of backstory on who the heck this man is?
Mm-hmm.
For those unfamiliar.
Well, Dante is part of the Devil May Cry series, made obviously from Hideki Kamiya, or I'm butchering his last name. Kamiya's brand of fantastic games such as like Bayonetta and others as well. So it kind of only made sense to why not bring one of his other creations into this series. He's Dante is a character who is known as, I guess, a Nephilim, or I guess a demon slayer per se.
Mm-hmm.
And he's very popular, widely known. So I thought this would be a good choice to be put into this fighter roster as per se.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not opposed to that because I love Dante. So yeah, I want Dante in.
See, I do too. So I want him there.
He's got some wonderful variety of weapons.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was gonna say, run us through. What do you have in by way of stages, music? What do you got?
Well, the main stage I thought would be perfect for this would be the Temen Niguru from DMC3.
Okay.
So essentially, for people that know obviously the game series, it's the first stage that shows up where Dante is fighting his brother Virgil on the top, and it's like this rainy scene. So kind of like in that scenario, it'd be kind of cool just to have the kind of like have an Omega version or like regular version of that stage, and just have people fight in that scene, and just have some rain effect if anything, or something like that. So I thought
that'd be interesting. That'd be new.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
It'd be a different take, right?
Yeah.
And I think it would, like, if anything, it would be like one of the Final Fantasy stages that like has the element effects with the lightning and water flowing around. So I thought that would be kind of like an interesting aspect if they were to adapt something from that, and then kind of go from there.
Because I mean, doesn't it have isn't there snowfall in Metal Gear stage? I swear there is. No.
There is sometimes, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I figure so. I mean, you could do a weather pattern for sure. There's the Wind Waker stage, right? Like,
That's got rain and a big tornado and some wind effect.
Yeah. So definitely, yeah, you could definitely set that up. That'd be cool. I'd like to have that kind of stage. That'd be nice.
Right.
It'd be dramatic.
It'd be really interesting to see, even especially like how one of the Pokemon stages, the big one that like has the element changes every time.
Right.
That'd be I think, another concept too if they were to like play around with it too.
Okay. Yeah, I dig it.
Yeah. Some soundtracks I thought would be cool to have. A lot of people won't know, but I've just named a few here. So Devils Never Cry remix, I believe from the third one. I'm trying to remember from where this one was. Either Double Trigger.
Oh, Devil Trigger's got to be in this goddamn game.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
That is the most celebrated song and the most played song of the entire franchise to date. If you go without that song, you're doing the whole franchise a disservice.
Yeah. The Virgil Battle 2 is what it's named as for the next one. Psycho Siren, Ultraviolet, Lock and Load.
Yeah.
And then I have some other ones, but I don't know if I should go that full list. So
Just put the entire Devil May Cry soundtrack in the game. It'll be fun.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not opposed to that. I'm not opposed to that.
She is absolutely
so correct.
like, yeah.
Yeah, I would love to have that. Also, are we also mentioning like the skins per se? Or...
Absolutely. When you
Skins,
buy
yeah,
this fighter, if
skins.
you bought our battle pass here, what else do you get?
Yeah, skins. Give me moves. Give me everything. You're doing the Sakurai presentation right now, man.
Oh.
Masahiro Beastie, if you will.
Okay, so for the skins, I would want to have of the 8, the original version from DMC5, so like the latest updated look of him.
Right.
Just of like like the nice pale mahogany or reddish kind of look, and then just black pants, so like kind of just that generic look.
Yeah.
The secondary one would be the blue variant or like a Virgil variant.
Okay,
So-
yeah, I dig it.
Appreciate it, yeah.
Yeah, right. A green one, or as it's called, Gilver from it'd be like a DMC5 V alt version. So people that don't know who V is, he was a new character that was introduced in DMC5. So it'd be like a kind of brightish green almost,
Okay.
or like kind of standard green. Another one would be Nero DMC5 version again, because it would be like a nice offset of blue and red playing off each other.
Yeah,
So kind of like just a reversal almost.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Next one would be all black, so just like V's original version. So that'd be like, if you see the Terry skin, like kind of like that almost.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
With a darker tone. Well, I mean, V was pretty pale, so I guess you could keep it pale like that.
Yeah, exactly. Just have it kind of like that full black aesthetic. Last 3 will be, so Sparta is going to be next. It'll be a purple variant.
Yeah.
So like and I think DMC 4 you could see where Dante had like an alternate costume version,
Right.
where it looked like he was sophisticated, like I guess of his father. So that would be kind of like the variant or play off from that.
Okay.
Last 2 will be the classic Dante from DMC 1, a very bright red or full red if anything from that one. And then the last one would be Doppelganger Boss from DMC 3. So think of a Dark Link variant.
Okay. I dig that too.
Understandable. Now, just to shameless promote here, you keep mentioning a very specific game in that franchise. Want to tell us what people might be able to see later on in our show from that specific franchise?
DMC 3?
Is that a question or an answer, bro?
No, of course. We'll be doing a live stream speed run of it with our homeboy Treffy. So that'll be happening later on today if people are interested in seeing that happen. And I will also be there joining to, I believe, commentate.
Co-commentate.
Yeah. Join him as he breaks it down, and join Treffy as he tries to break a world record. Hope he does it.
Yeah.
Right here on twitch.tv/nerdcrusade.
Yeah.
Would be something.
Last little bits I have are for, I guess, the movesets and then me skins. Or do we want to discuss spirits too?
Let's just do.
I haven't brought any spirits, but like, sure.
Because I can just do the movesets and then kind of go from there.
Yeah, let's do moveset and then me skins, and then we'll kick it off for the next person.
Got it. Okay. So Dante's movesets. There's been variations I've seen online that people have talked about, but the variation I thought would be interesting would be to have like with his down B set.
Mhm.
So the down or not down B, sorry, but the B smash set. So
Okay.
down B would be his double trigger in a sense, like with how
Roll
it works
credits.
with what's his name? Joker from Persona, kind of like activating like that in a sense. So if
Okay.
every time he gets hit, he'll be building up the meter, or he'd be able to somehow charge up his I guess
Oh,
double
you
trigger
want
meter.
another meter character in this game? I see.
Yeah, because it would be
Double trigger was
interesting.
gonna be. Come on.
Like
It
like
only
we
makes
don't
sense.
already have too many of those.
Oh
It
no,
only
of course
makes
not.
sense. Whatever.
Just gotta add another one. Why
I
not?
mean, the assets are in there, so why not?
It's not like we have too many sword characters, right? Anyways,
Don't remind me.
So many swords. And Dante also has a sword.
but he also has
Yeah.
guns, so it's okay.
He does. It's a
Joker
healthy
also
balance
has
of the
guns.
two.
This is just, emo Joker is what it is.
Oh my gosh,
Oh.
you're not wrong. Anyways, his neutral B would be Ebony and Ivory, the two famous guns that he's profoundly using in all of the games. So just obviously from shooting around, just in general aspect. Left and right B would be the gunstinger. So it'd be just him in a sense like using his, I believe, double barrel shotgun. And it would just be kind of like a quick knockback from that too. So for him, it would knock him back by like a few inches, but it would be able to like damage the character heavily, or not heavily, like mid-range heavily, if anything.
Okay.
Yeah. And then his up B would be his dash of, in a sense, his teleport, or like in a sense of his teleportation, or just like quick air movement of what he uses.
Okay.
And then his final smash, it'd be a pull from the DMC5 recent bring up, which would be the ultimate double trigger. And then his special move, or like final move, I guess you could see him using, would be his judgment move, which is basically a whole barrage of like swords flying around and just like slashing anybody in that vicinity, like in this kind of dome vicinity. If you
Nice and flashy. I understand.
exactly. So it'd be. I think
We
it'd be pretty
talking
cool.
like cinematic, like some of our other characters, or we're talking like you do inputs like Bayonetta's?
Either one would work. It just depends, obviously, how it would have to work. But I think cinematic would be probably the easiest, right? So that way, it's just like it's quick and easy. Just you see the animation go through, and then it's done.
It's auto triggered.
Yeah, but if not, if they did it
Buttons,
like if they did it like Bayonetta's, then yeah, just like a quick like flow through, just flying, or actually even like Pikachu's Final Smash, just like he'd be flying around in a sense.
Okay.
Yeah,
I see.
So, yeah, that'd be the other variation I could think of. And then just the quick me skins would be the four I was thinking of would be Virgil's variants from either version DMC3 or 5. Nero's skin, which was from the DMC5 version, and the last two special ladies, Lady and Trish. So gotta have those ones around.
Excellent.
Always like Trish. Ladies with guns.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hey, so before we jump to the next person, I would like to take this moment to thank our two newest followers for starting off our train this afternoon into evening for our donation to 630 Ched Sans Anonymous. Those people would be, in order, NerdFan31 and Replacement Robin. Thank you for getting our train started, and we hope that you stick around for our entire show.
Welcome to the Crusade, Crusaders.
Thank you.
With
Can
that
I go
out of
now?
the way, who's next?
That'd be me. So I figured
Mhm.
who to bring if we're going for classic game characters, but Adam Jensen, who's not even classic at all. So, but the Deus Ex franchise, on the other hand, most certainly is. The first Deus Ex game came out in 2000. The reboots with Human Revolution and Mankind Divided, first one came out 2011, second one came out, I believe, 2018? Sorry, 2016. And these were good games, first of all. And Deus Ex did a lot for the first-person RPG type shooter kind of thing, which became more and more prevalent as, gaming developed and the consoles could support it, the PCs could support it, the tech in general just got better so that you were not just fighting a bunch of angry triangles. Not that we don't love shapes, but And gotta say, Adam's not a particularly interesting dude, which is why I think putting him in Smash is a great idea, because he doesn't need to be a character. The coolest thing about him is, in fact, just the stuff he does.
Yeah.
And because you have both like lethal options and non-lethal options during the game, that gives you 2 times the options for weapons for diversity. So you can give him both a taser and a gun. Why not both?
Right.
In terms of level design, I think it would just like to the stages. We've got a lot of like spooky labs, very dark stuff. You've got things with the Queen Parasite in the background. You got like the Brinstar levels. So you've got evil science. What about malevolent-ish science? Brightly lit, possibly a lot of weird covered, jump over and around and behind, because you know, fuck characters who can't jump, am I right?
Little Mac.
Yeah, screw that guy. But I think that because there's a lot of climbing in game, you could have, so you know, the can't pull the name of the stage now, but the one with the various tower in the, like the big ass tower in the middle, and you just got a bunch of rooftops.
Okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking
It's
about.
Foresight.
Yes.
Foresight, yes.
Oh yeah.
You could definitely do something like that. But like shiny and well lit and easy to see.
Very
And his
cyberpunkish,
aesthetic.
not the game, but the actual like the actual
Yes.
aesthetic.
The genre properly.
Yes.
And soundtrack wise, okay, we've got a lot of very epic themes in Smash, right? We've got classic games, we've got epic themes, we've got the DK rap. There's a ton of diversity. We don't have that much techno music. I'm not actually huge on techno music, but you know what? Sometimes you just want to listen to some beeps, you know?
Yep. I dig that too.
And the Deus Ex soundtrack has a lot of very violent beeping songs, if I do say so myself. Icarus is the main theme of the game, and that's just the right level of epic and also sci-fi. So that would be an easy slide in. You've also got some of the car type vibes, you know, for when you're wandering around the city in between actually interesting stuff. There's also the very final theme for that fight, which stressful. Which is another potential stage design, in my opinion. Because at the end of Human Revolution, not going to spoil too hard for a game that's been out for 9 years, but whatever. There's a chamber with like 3 ladies in pods and also a boss fight, and you can definitely do something in there. You've got just so much running around, and I think it'd almost be interesting to have the pods be a mid-ground asset. So there'd be a background that you could go behind them and just, take it outside,
Yeah.
And then you could fight in front of the pods, almost to add a different kind of depth to stages rather than the largely 2-dimensional stuff we've got going on.
Right. Well, I dig it.
I think he's cool.
I dig it. I mean,
very interesting.
Yeah, I like Deus Ex altogether because I think that game series is fucking awesome as shit. So I mean, Adam as a character and everything that he can do, you know what I mean? Like this game is really meant for off wall everything type characters too. Like there's no limits, you know what I mean? So like Adam, who's limitless, would be awesome to be to be part of the roster.
Yeah, he's a no holds barred kind of guy. And
yeah.
In terms of the move sets, right? So obviously he has to have some kind of gun. I would say probably like the neutral should be a gun. Maybe the side should be a taser. He has knife arms that I think would be pretty funny to use. He's got a taser hand, which also would be pretty funny to use. He's got a natural down B in that the Icarus ability, which surrounds him with like a glowy ball so he doesn't take fall damage.
Ooh,
It'd be easy to just turn that into actually doing damage to anyone around him when he down Bs.
Right.
His recovery probably wouldn't be fantastic, but the boy's got jumps,
Yeah, I'm going to say he jumps like Jesus, man. He's out there. So
So like he probably wouldn't have a lot of jumps, but he jumps real high.
Yeah.
So balances out a little bit.
He's got pre Superman days like powers where he's just leaping to buildings in single bounds.
Oh yeah. And he's completely ridiculous. You could also have him punch people if you really want to watch him punch people.
Mhm.
You know, he's got metal fists. I think his ultimate should involve I cannot remember if it had a special name, but there was just this military helicopter thing that he uses to get from missions to mission. And I
Right.
think it'd be neat if you put him on that with a sniper rifle. Because I played heavy stealth on my runs because
Okay.
open combat's a great way to get your ass beat. So sniping from a helicopter, in character.
Okay. More of a
Also,
it's similar to like Snake.
kind of Snake, yes.
Yeah.
If Snake had knife arms.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean by
Another-
by the way of his ultimate his move, right? Like it's like literally I don't know if they changed it, but I haven't played him so long, but I know he goes into like a full like he can aim and shoot at you with something, right? He's hanging
Yes.
on, I think he's hanging on to like a rope ladder.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, snakes.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's what his move is,
It's
right?
gonna come down from like a chopper or whatever, and just you just be like
Right. So,
targeting.
because it'd be like something like that. I'm guessing with like a
Yes.
chain gun. Uh-huh. Okay.
Very
Mm.
much so. In terms of skins, you've got his ridiculous coat. You have him without his ridiculous coat. I would love to see Adam Jensen in pink, frankly. And then
I'm not gonna argue that.
you could also give him a skin of the protagonist from the early games, JC Denton, or technically JC Denton's clone, but whatever.
Sure.
I know, right? Yeah, you could do a few different color changes. I think if you gave him, like, frankly, you could make him look a little bit like the DMC Devil May Cry Dante by giving him a red coat and white hair. And I am a big fan, as you all know, of characters that look really, really similar all being on screen at once. So
Yeah.
I think that'd be, again, fun. Most of my choices on skins are for the lulz. You could also give him a rainbow coat for that fabulous representation, but frankly, Jensen's just like that, you know.
It'd be nice to take him away from all the dark. Hey man. It's a little bit brighter.
Don't get me wrong, the all black outfit makes sense, I guess, for a security specialist in his own world, but like hard to track sometimes, bro.
Exactly. And here in this world of ultimate limitless stuff, you can be fabulous, bro. It's no problem.
Exactly. Get in touch with your soft side in the wake
man.
of your dead girlfriend who's actually not dead and was lying to you the whole time.
Jeez.
The plot of those games, you start off and you're like, this makes sense. Okay. And then it just goes off the fucking wall. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, that's Deus Ex for you.
That's correct. Like I said, I didn't bring any spirits or anything, so we're not getting into that. Me skins, you've got a lot of really cool antagonists in this game, frankly. And I cannot remember the dude's name, but there's that. He's actually the primary antagonist of Mankind Divided, and he's huge, and his arms are made of guns. And I think he would be a really cool skin for the brawler because add a little bit of range to that guy to make him even less pleasant to be around. You know, look like some sort of mecha con gorilla.
I know who you're talking about too, but like I can't remember the
You
guy's
said a
name
whole
for
bunch
the
of
life of
know.
me.
magic words right there.
I know what we're about.
Totes. All right.
A couple of other villains that would be fun skins, but honestly, that would require introducing a handful of fairly new mechanics to any fighter you'd give them to, just because they all have their own little I'm a special augmented being gimmicks, which makes it complicated. And that's Adam.
Right on.
I appreciate you bringing this particular character, mostly because of his aesthetic, right? there's a lot of like our Mass Effect characters, for example. They are very notable because of their color scheme, right? They are some of the living embodiments of like the blue and orange like cover,
Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And so that's one of those things that Smash Brothers hasn't quite found its groove on how exactly it's going to represent yet.
Okay.
Mm,
And while that dominated the gaming space for the better part of 10 years,
Mhm.
it really did.
Smash Brothers, as a celebration of all things gaming, hasn't done that good of a job of recognizing that.
Mm.
Does it
Yeah.
need to? Maybe. It's up for debate.
Right.
That's why he's here on our Fighters Pass.
I will say I came within 3 inches of bringing Commander Shepard instead. So nice call.
Yeah.
It's almost like I knew that beforehand. Anyway, it's almost like we planned.
Stop.
Jeez.
On to the next member of this combative group.
But before we do that, I'd first
Oh.
like to thank our newest follower, S. Neufeld, who is joining us and contributing via her follow
Oh snap!
to our
Thanks.
big event.
Much
Thanks.
appreciated.
Now it's my turn.
I'm
Let's
scared.
sit our heads back to when the Nintendo Wii and the PS2 were the latest and greatest consoles on the market. Okay?
Mhm. Mhm.
Mhm.
Right? A time where, motion controls were at their apex.
Mhm.
A little game from a tiny little company that, had its day in the sun, but was very quiet for those couple years. This particular game shared a super unique art style with none other, just itself. It got one sequel on the most unfortunate console there was at the time, the Nintendo DS.
Uh-oh.
A resolution screen that, in a day age of 4K outputs on all consoles, mostly, Nintendo
Mhm.
Switch, just doesn't hold up anymore. However, its older brother game, Okami,
Yes.
started off as a PS2 game, then found its way to the Wii, and it is one of the best examples of motion controls on that console to date.
Mhm.
Okay.
And so
I can't
Good
argue.
boy.
I low-key love that game to death too. It's really nice.
So, the character I'm bringing is our main protagonist, Amaterasu from Okami.
Mhm.
The stage I'd like to put her on. Now, the pronouns get kind of funny because in the Japanese language, you would refer to her as God, as Kami.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that honorific has very funny things in the Japanese language. But for the sake of argument, Amaterasu is a girl, and so is referred to as such.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
So, in this game, it has a Japanese scroll art like art style. So, we are full on exiting the hyperrealism of modern gaming and flipping that sort of on its head. The stage I'd like to put us on is I'm calling Konohana Blossom. It is a flying platform stage similar to that of like your Dragon Quest or your Super Mario Sunshine stage. It will take you through the entire story of the first game. You will start your ass in Konohana Village. You will take yourself to the place of the Orochi fight. You will take yourself to the Undersea Palace, excuse me. You will take yourself to the far north in our region, to fight the living embodiment and the explanation for the Pokemon of Ninetales. Because they're based in Japanese mythology, and here they are. You will be transported throughout a big-ass jungle, and finally, you will come to the final ship of the game where you will face the final boss, Yami. A big hand-in-ball creature that sole existence is based on wrecking your shit. Because you're the sole being stopping them from plunging the world into absolute chaos.
So like a hamster, but 10 times as evil and with a thumb.
Correct. My gimmick for this sort of stage is we're going to have some smaller enemies, imps, drop from the sky. They're going to be rather weak enemies. They're more going to be annoying to fight than anything else. They're going to have as much health as sort of an assist trophy. I'll take a couple hits. They'll be out. For the first level of imps, we're going to have 4 levels of imps. We're going to have green, red, blue, and black. Okay, as we go more towards black, they've got a handful more hit points. We don't want to add too many hit points because then it gets annoying, and who really are you fighting at that point in time? Just enough to make you, like, keep up your wits' end while you're fighting all of your friends.
Okay.
I think at that point you actually begin fighting yourself or the developer.
Correct. Now, when you pause Okami, no matter what system you played on, it got an HD remaster on the Nintendo Switch, and it's consistently on sale. I highly recommend that version. When you pause on this stage, if you're that kind of person, we will go into the parchment-esque looking atmosphere. It will bring a scroll over, and it'll be as if you're looking through a piece of parchment at our battle arena, and then when you unpause, it'll go back. With me so far?
Aye, aye.
So, because a lot of the Okami music is wild. You've got Konohana Village's theme, which is very peaceful. You've got a song called Evil Brewing. You've got The Curse. You've got Drunken Imps, which probably will have to be changed for an English localization. So I thought of that. We're just going to call it Silly Imps.
Okay. I dig it.
Then we've got some new remixes. We've got Susano the Mighty as a brand new remix. And we will throw in the entire Okamiden soundtrack in a medley.
Okay, I dig that.
Right? So it'll be the best parts of that, the most gaming influence, the most, something to help you really get in the mood to fight your friends.
Orchestral, like melody, I like that. Medley,
Absolutely.
sorry.
You say that like I need moods to fight a friend.
I hear you over there, Table. You sound like you want to throw hands.
My dude, I spent about 20 hours of the last 2 days playing through Smash just so I could have all the characters unlocked. I am, like, hallucinating joining the battle at this point.
Well, everybody out there listening, we need 596 other people to follow so she can punch my face in. Let's make it happen.
Oh, God.
Would we like to hear about a final smash for Amaterasu?
But of course.
Yeah.
I have called this final smash Floral Finisher. Using the power of all 3 of her celestial weapons, Amaterasu will sling you up in her rosary beads, strike you with her heavenly glaive, and bash your head in with her reflector shield. Afterwards, as you're all dizzy, she will bring the brushstroke across again, our parchment from earlier, draw a circle around you, and you will explode in flowers.
Oh, okay.
This character will operate very similar to Byleth, as the multiple weapons that I just mentioned are assigned to the C-stick. So the longer you hold on to it, the more damage it does.
Right, can I say something, Kurt?
Reflector, by hitting down smash, does in fact reflect projectiles.
Right, can I say something cursed?
Absolutely.
Are you suggesting this is Byleth for furries?
This might be a little cursed. Yes, that's cursed.
Oh my gosh.
You're
we
welcome.
have somebody in our chat today that has asked us if this is audio only or video too. This is a mostly audio. We will have some video elements later as we do our interviews and such. But
Mhm.
for the time right now, strictly an audio show.
We have other visuals, we swear. We've just been chilling here for a while.
Yeah.
Mhm.
For me skins, I've got 3. In this game, you've got a traveling companion. His name is Isun, and he's a traveling artist. And so I figured let's put that on a me skin.
Okay.
Because this is a Capcom game, and Capcom is super involved in the Super Smash Bros. Franchise, I decided that the Monster Hunter skin that was in Super Smash Bros. For Wii U
Mhm.
is now going to get its mighty return into Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And because we
dig it.
always have a me skin that's sort of a deluxe costume. In fact, one of my favorite characters is in fact a deluxe costume for the me gunner.
Okay.
You say favorite, I say most annoying.
Oops.
And given that you play Game & Watch, that's saying something.
The character I'd like to bring to a deluxe skin is Ori from Ori and the Blind Forest. Them being a deluxe me skin for the me sword fighter.
Okay.
I can dig it.
All right.
There's always one.
You have my attention.
Okay.
That game needs more love, and I just couldn't I don't have that game super memorized like I do Okami. So it got relegated to a me skin. But hey, it's still in the game.
It's a right on.
How's that?
I respect
dig it,
that
man.
choice.
Yeah.
I dig it. I am never against anything Okami. It to me, it almost feels like a natural choice.
Dog.
In fact, yes. And also, this game is severely lacking in quadrupeds.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
So if it wasn't Amaterasu, it was Spyro.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I was gonna add
Also
to
a valid
the.
choice.
I would add to the FF franchise and just put Red 13.
Ooh.
But is Final Fantasy actually going to get some music time with this time with that character, or are you just going to give him 2 more?
Probably just 2
jeez.
more tracks. Who knows?
just to smite them some more.
Right?
As
Victory Song and Victory
complete
Song
as the Final
Extended.
Fantasy VII remake. Come on.
Right? All right.
So before we jump to the last character in our list this afternoon,
Mhm.
we've had a new follow since then. So
Right on.
let us
Oh,
thank a Raid Default for their follow to our channel.
Thanks, Ray.
Yeah, welcome to the channel. Welcome to the Crusade.
Much appreciated.
Very. All right, so I guess that brings it on to me now.
It sure
Yes.
Sure does.
All right. Well, I'm going to go far back. It's part of the Capcom camp as well. I'm going all the way back. You guys brought some really good modern choices, and they're all very nice and very cool. But I'm going to go a little simple. Back to the simple days, where your controller only had a directional pad, start, select, and 2 buttons. Nothing more.
Uh-oh.
Oh yeah, 1985 was the year that Sir Arthur came out in what we know as Ghosts and Goblins.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dude.
Now, the reason why I'm choosing Sir Arthur is because he literally has a skill set built for this more than anybody else I've ever picked before. And this came almost suggested from, I believe, Treffy a while back, who brought it up, and I was just like, oh yeah, I forgot about this guy. And you know what? No, man, I think he kind of tops the list of me wanting this guy in this game, man. The best thing about Arthur is he's got all these. His assets can be really recycled from everybody in the game, and I'll explain how. Okay, so he literally can do it. He has movesets based on like weapons, so dagger throwing, axe tossing, all that stuff, right? He's even got like Simon's fire bottle toss. So that's like for me, it just makes sense. Um, for those who don't know the game, do look up gameplay. The game's hard as balls as you go further.
Oh,
In
man.
fact, your difficulty setting goes higher as you continue. The more you beat the game, the harder it gets.
That seems
So
rude.
like, yeah, there's no end screen really, right? The game just keeps going. It's like an endless cycle. So you beat the game, and the story, the way the story ends and begins is in a loop. So like it literally just loops around, and you just go with like the harder mode. So good luck to you if you want to really hurt yourself.
An infinite
Just-
like hard mode.
The original New
Mhm.
Game Plus.
Oh my god.
Yeah, man. It literally ends with the same beginning, and you just start all over again. You get the princess back. Guess what? He gets kidnapped again.
My gosh.
Yeah. So for Arthur, the hard thing about Ghosts and Goblins is that you literally you're only allowed 2 hits. You get your armor set, and if you get hit, you lose your armor, and you literally run around in just your underwear until you get your armor until you get your armor back. And if you get hit, then you're just dead. So you're literally just 2 hits, and you are swarmed on your screen with enemy after enemy after enemy. And this is what I mean. This game is hard as balls. Plus, in some stages, your stage literally shifts. So like the ground can shift below you, or it can shift higher. You may have to jump last second. Good luck, man.
Survival of the fittest.
Yeah, exactly. So as it goes for moveset, everything's gonna be based on the C stick, right?
Mm.
So for like a neutral, I guess a neutral B, if you want to call it that, right? Would be just his lance toss. He has a lance, he'll just toss free for that range, right? I can't remember who I could base it off of really, but range play, like Mario and the Fireball, you know what I mean? Keep away.
Lance sauce like maybe Byleth? Is that a good reference or
Maybe something like that. Side B would be like like a lance thrust, something to just move forward. Something to get back on the screen too if you fall off the edge when you jump and try to recover.
Yeah.
Axe tossing, of course. Again, something more. All for Arthur's all range play because that's what the game's based off of. Right, keep away from everything around you. You can't get close because you're gonna die. So it's all like Simon Belmont. Fire bottle toss, axe toss. And it's all range play, right? And a final smash would be like his golden armor. But I'm gonna rip it from. I can't remember what game it was. He made a crossover in, but like he turns into this giant, cool, almost gold mech kind of version of himself with a giant like lance bazooka thing that he's got going on, and
Might
that
it
would
have
just be
been
like
Marvel vs. Capcom?
no, it's not in that one. It's a Capcom versus game, but I can't remember which series it's from totally. But like I think the transformation only happened in that one game. In fact, I could be wrong. I think it might be even like an RPG element type of game, like a battle card element, like Yu-Gi-Oh or something like that. And I think the card makes an appearance, but like, he's got this giant lance cannon thing that like, I would give a full spread, across the screen beam, right? And anybody caught in the way would just get hit by it. Period. Right?
A go fuck yourself button, if you will.
Exactly.
Oh, good luck.
Right. As it goes for, I guess for colors and skins, there's nothing you can do much with Arthur. I mean, I'm not gonna have a skin where he's in his underwear. I mean, this is Nintendo.
Yeah.
Right? Nintendo
It is, in
for
fact-
today. Anyways.
It is, in fact, for good boys and girls.
That's correct. So Arthur will just have the rainbow of colors for his armor. The greens, blues, pinks, purples, whatever you got, right?
Mhm.
Special skin would be like his golden armor itself, where you get like got like a couple of crests on it and such with a red cape. I think that's the one on the screen right now, for that matter. And yeah, I mean, as it goes, that's carry. Arthur's pretty simple. The good old simple days like Mega Man. Nothing too much to it. Just go on your adventure, save your princess, and that's all you need. And this is his skill set right here. It speaks for his character and his moveset speaks for himself. So
Yeah.
choice for stages. Go ahead.
I am appreciating this character so far simply based on like its super interesting health bar.
Yeah, like a 2-hit kill, man. So
Right, you've got
Smack.
the most glass cannon character you could ever have thought of.
Smack, smack,
right.
dead.
So you gotta play. Go ahead.
I'm just making sound effects in the background. Don't mind me.
I mean, like it gives you that element of playing with perfection, right? You gotta like not get hit if that's the case.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much it, man. I mean, for stages, there's not too much for Ghosts and Goblins. It's a I can't even describe it. It's not really like a Metroidvania. It's just literally just scroll and scroll. Stages change on you.
Like Pack World.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly like
So
that,
we could
right?
go through it in in HD remaster-ish form,
Mm-hmm.
or in NES form.
We love those pixels.
Yeah, exactly. Good old 8-bit stuff. That'd be cool. Or even you can even base it off some of the SNES stuff. I think it's Super Ghouls and Ghosts. You know, you just rip it from there if you want to as a scroller. And as for music, just maybe a melody how you have it for Okami, right? Because I mean, who wants to sit there and listen to the same chip tune in loop? I wouldn't.
It
They're
worked
very
in the mid '90s. Maybe not so much for today's audience.
no exactly. So a good old medley of all the tunes would be nice, and that's it. That's it for Arthur, man.
I respect your medley call, but also you say that like I can't sit and listen to the fucking Kirby theme for hours on end, and not even the whole thing, just that first little segment.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, I mean some songs just
Truly flat.
kind of some songs you can't quite quit, right?
But then again, Kirby has such an iconic da 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 da. Like
Yeah.
you can't. Now that I've said that, that's stuck in your head. Who's ever listening? Like
It's been
True
stuck in my
enough.
head since yesterday. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's actually that really. You're right. It would really depend how good the actual music is, and since I have not heard it because I've never even heard of this game, I cannot vouch for this.
Oh, I would not punish you with that because like
Yeah.
for I don't know, after a while it's like oh my god, you it's one of those songs where you're like you hear it and then after a few minutes you're just like you start mocking it like and you're just making fun of it because you heard it so many times. It's just like oh my god, and then at one point you will just mute it and play your own music. It's one of those.
So you're like, okay, they did their due diligence as game devs by putting in music, and that's pretty much the best you can say about it.
Oh yeah, for sure. It literally it loops. I think it's like an 8-second loop.
Oh shit.
I'm sure you're right. Now, if I could point out something very interesting about our two characters here at the end, we have first versed each other before.
Yes.
Marvel vs. Capcom. I believe it's Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom.
Hmm.
Had both of these characters 100% playable.
Oh yes, yeah.
And so, not only are we both designed already in a game, we've already fought. We've already determined who comes more on top, you know?
Yeah, like it was a struggle to choose between him and Beautiful Joe. And you know how I feel about the beautiful one himself.
I was fully expecting a Beautiful Joe to come out of left field. But I'm surprised you pulled this this out of nowhere choice.
Arthur, man, I just feel like Arthur was a better choice. Just on like with Beautiful, it's gonna be a lot of punching and kicking, and that's another close range dude. And you know how I feel about my close range fighters in that game too, right? But for a change of pace, I figured with Arthur's like full skill set, I feel like he was a better fit. Although I still want Beautiful in that so I could punch anybody's face in with a fucking like a mock punch, mock kick.
Make him a skin, bro. Make him a skin.
True enough, he could be a skin. He could be a skin. I mean, his head is as big as a fucking Mii fighter, so I mean, it would work.
It maps beautifully.
Legitimately, it does. Put a nice little Sentai helmet on him. Scarf. The beautiful one. It's ready.
Listen, that goes along the same lines as a Wonderful 101, Wonderful Red. Or sorry, Wonder Red. Not only is this a biased choice for me, because, haha, red.
Mm-hmm.
But also, that game just got a remaster on Switch, on Steam, on PS4, and I think it came to Xbox too, if memory serves me right.
So yeah.
I have to double check.
And
Diversity.
it's so good. I listen, that game is just so complex in its characters. I couldn't in good conscience bring Wonder Red to this DLC pack.
Are you suggesting he would need like his own DLC pack entirely to just
No,
digest that, or he just doesn't fit in Smash? Too much to
I
explain.
think he might only fit in Smash as, say, a Mii Brawler skin, one of those deluxe skins, or simply as a spirit, which he already is. Because of the way
There's just no way to.
Yeah, there's
Sorry,
no way to translate his movesets into something usable, per se.
You can't TLDR the dude.
Yeah, not really. The moral of that game is that you sort of gather up people, and the more people that you have, the more moves that you can actually do, and I just can't see that working very well in a game where it's very much one-on-one.
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
Shame, but that is how it be sometimes, You're not going to bring someone who's designed to handle crowds into freaking Smash, because unless you're playing with 8 people, that doesn't make sense.
I mean, it could work.
I say as we play with 8 people regularly.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It could work.
Speaking of 8 people, though, we gained 2 new followers during that whole spiel.
Yes, we did.
So-
Let's thank you before we move on to our next segment, for real.
So
Sure.
quick thanks to Oakenwolf666 and Mama Silver. Thank you so much for showing up.
Yeah, welcome to the Crusade, Mama Silver and Oakenwolf666. Mark of the Beast.
Jeez.
So, for anybody in our audience that has been tuning in for our show this afternoon, is there a character that you would like to see in Smash?
The world is full of video game characters. Any of them could be in Smash.
Possibilities are limitless, as they say.
Oh, you know who we haven't said anything about?
Mm-hmm.
We haven't talked about the crime that is Waluigi's continued absence from Smash.
Yep.
Okay, listen, if we're going to go down this hole, let's go down this hole. So,
Okay,
my
I got the
purple
shovel
boy-
and started digging. Let's do this. Let's go.
Oh boy.
This purple boy, okay, has been relegated as an assist trophy for every single game assist trophies has been in. So for the last 10 or so years, my man has not been playable in this game. So much so that hackers have taken to hacking him in and just dubbing him over Mario.
Man.
You'd think they'd put him over Luigi, but
You
okay.
would
Wait,
think, right? Here we
Nintendo,
are.
what are you scared of, man? You put him in every sports game possible.
Look, he's an
Hasn't-
athlete. He's a lover, not a fighter. I don't know what to tell you.
I don't get it. I don't get it. Is he because he's the most athletic one of the whole bunch, and this is where you can't put him in this game because he may be too perfect?
Waluigi
the
doesn't want to
case?
kill anybody.
I guess we'll never know because Nintendo's never going to put him in.
Listen, I want him in this game. Not only is it a shame because Wario is in the game.
I know.
And one of his moves is a fart?
I mean,
It is. And this
Yep.
game's for good girls and boys.
Irresponsible.
I
There's
mean, a
just
couple
better
of fart jokes never heard anything. So.
I mean,
I don't know.
sure, but I would trade Wario for Waluigi in a heartbeat.
Oh no, for sure.
Any
I
day of the
mean-
week, 6
I
ways
mean-
from Sunday. Like,
I mean, let's not get too harsh. I like my favorite bastard fat boy, man. But I mean, like, we gotta get Waluigi in there regardless. I mean, if you're gonna have the entire the Mario family proper,
Yeah.
you might as well just keep Mario in there and just put Waluigi in, man.
if Daisy
Why
gets to
keep him
be in
out?
Smash, Waluigi gets to be in Smash.
Right. Fuck, dude, he predates Rosalina.
Facts.
But Rosalina has a friend.
Yeah. But...
Waluigi has a nose.
Oh my god.
I guess that balances out, sort of.
Does it?
Totally.
I
Alright.
think that we have not only composed a complete Fighter's Pass, we've also thrown in a handful of extras and what comes with such buying Battle Pass.
We've designed a battle pass, bros. Well done.
A very well structured one as well.
Well,
So
we did our best with this one.
what
And
we
all
will
4
do-
picks are some solid picks.
Not bad.
So what we will
They're
be doing,
they're definitely out of left field, I'll tell you that much.
correct. Yeah, this is, I promise you, no matter where in the world you ask, none of these characters come up as number 1.
Nope.
Damn.
Unfortunate. However, what we will be doing this afternoon, in order to switch segments, we will be running some music, 2 or 3 songs, to get ourselves ready. And we will meet you back here in between 5 and 6 minutes with our next segment, A Life in Comics, an interview with Sam Hain and with me, Red, and our very own.
Is I, Shino Brando.
It is you.
So, we will meet you back here in 5 or 6 minutes.
Enjoy the tunes.
Stay tuned.
We cool?
All right.
Okay. Hey, what's up, everyone? Thanks for having me on here.
Hey, it's good to hear from you, man.
Yeah, yeah. Ooh, that's a good question. Well, back in the '80s, I mean, you always had like an older sibling or an older or a friend that had an older sibling that was reading the comics, watching cartoons. You know, the old school, Justice League and that, and then you see comic books. You know, when you go shopping with your parents and that, and then as you get older into your teens, you start, doing your chores and saving up money and end up buying comics. And then I find back in the '80s and '90s, everyone was into the comics.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
everyone had that uh, sort of hobby in common. Not many hobbies back in the day, I'll tell you that much.
I
More
mean,
collecting,
other than
collecting
running through
stamps
the
and
arcade
stuff.
and all that, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. People collecting cards, stamps, bottle caps, and marbles. I mean, there were odd collections back then.
So now that we've established on how you got into the medium, what is your earliest? And I guess I can ask both of you at this point in time. What are
Hmm.
your guys' like earliest comic memories?
Uh,
Yeah, you
Go
go. You
on,
go.
go first, man. I mean, pretty much we
Oh,
were raised together since day one, so whatever you say,
yeah.
I'll just feed off you, man.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, we were almost one and the same. I don't know. I think our exposure comes from I think TV first. Honestly, man, we came up in the boom of the TV era, right, where everything was on. Everything had a cartoon. Everybody had a cartoon, right? Spider Man had one. Everybody
Yep.
had one. So
Parker,
I
my
think that's our
office.
early. Exactly right. I think our earliest exposure is that, and that's what got us into comics altogether. I remember my first comic book was probably I was staying in Toronto with my dad, and I was just seeing the other side of my family there. I must have been like I can't. Geez, I must have been all like maybe 11 years old when I got my very first comic book, and it was like the summertime. I was visiting my aunt. She ran like a newsstand, I think, at like a local subway, subway station, and she brought home like some direct copies, like direct editions from like Marvel itself, because I guess she had a subscription for like comics for like a comic stand. So my very first book was uh, Spider-Man #1, done by Todd McFarlane. I believe it was like 91, 92 back in the day. And yeah, I still have that. I have multiple copies of that book because I have them like they're mint condition. I have the original one that's all busted up because I carried that with me from since childhood. So that's my very first comic, and that's what got me right into the whole thing. And my fondest memory actually is I remember a time where we were in school and I got super sick. Remember I was out for like a month, 2 months, man. And
Yeah.
you I had collected a whole bunch of lunch money. Hope my mom's not listening. Never bought lunch, and used to buy comics. Used to get X-Men all the time. And I remember
Yep.
when I was down and out, man, I was like sick in bed. You would go do the comic hunt for me, man, and you used to come home and like just bring them back to my place. You had like a stack of them for me, all X-Men stuff. I was like, thank you, bro. You know how to make a guy happy right now because I'm
Yeah.
dying in this bed right now.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's yeah. I mean the greatest part, I guess, of back in the day, I think the '80s and '90s, we always fantasized about this guy from DC versus that guy from Marvel, who's
Yeah.
stronger. And we had so many crossovers back in the day. I mean, we had at one point we had He-Man fight Superman
Yep.
because Skeletor was controlling Superman with magic. And
Mhm.
then we had the whole, your favorite, the DC versus Marvel.
Yeah.
That was a
You been
that was a
run
big
down for
one.
that? Yeah.
Of course. And then you had the GI Joes teaming up with the
Transformers.
Transformers.
Yeah, buddy.
So a lot of big big, so many big names were crossing over, and so many other, the emergence of like Image and Valiant comics
Yeah.
coming out back then too, right? There were so many characters coming out, and like you said, everything had a comic, from like Crash Test Dummies to Sonic the Hedgehog. I
Yeah.
mean, they had a comic book.
No, speaking of, like
Um,
Sonic had a long. I think even it's back in print for that matter. It had like a long standing,
It
man.
is in
It's been
fact in
crazy.
print. IDW has the license, or maybe Boom has the license, and they are doing a whole reboot of the entire Sonic franchise from there.
Right
So
on.
no more Omega level Sonic versus who knows
right?
whatever Sonic
Yeah.
we'll see that week.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That was back in, and I remember going into the comic store, and I remember there was I like the Vampirella run and all that,
Yeah.
and the Red Sonja and the Conan and that. And I remember this other comic came out, and I guess the guy at the comic shop had no idea what it was. But I saw Helena and Double Impact, and I'm like, okay, that kind of, I think that's like Vampirella. So I paid my $3 and this and that. There wasn't much happening, comic wise. Like there wasn't like a major story, so it's just like, oh, I'll just buy, whatever looks cool. And
Right.
then it's like I bring it back, and it's like we're going through it. There's nudity in it, like drawn nudity, and we're all like, dude, that's what you bought, like a Playboy almost, and we're all like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And
Things
it's
were.
like I gotta hide this from my mom, man. Like I can't, like you're going
Like
through a
getting.
real Morty moment there. Oh gosh, oh
Oh
geez,
yeah. It's like
oh
something. It's like getting your hand on an issue of like heavy metal, and it's just like you don't realize what exactly is inside an issue of heavy metal. You open it up and like, oh my god, what did I just buy?
yeah, no, how did I get away with this? Like,
Yeah.
and I guess that's, and now there's a lot of the dark comics. They've come out, and there's a lot of gore in them now, and
Mhm.
there is nudity, and now there's like the parental advisory type of thing. But back then, we didn't have that. Everything was just raw. It's just get what you can, and it was
And hope
was
your mom
pretty
doesn't
awesome.
catch you with it underneath your bed. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I think it's still under there. It's not even worth any money now. I went the other day to check out the comic book realm, and I just went to see how much it's worth. It's
Yeah.
$10. And I got this in like '93, and I'm like, really? Like it
Oh,
hasn't moved up, maybe 25 cents more.
jeez. One day, if they ever make a TV series, oh, it might just spike. You never know.
Yeah, I think there was the barbed wire, like the Double Impact was the
Yeah.
infamous the barbed wire, the Pamela Anderson movie,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, that hasn't moved either. I guess it didn't take off. But yeah, no, the crossovers I think were big back in the day. Also, that the more extreme, sort of the dark versions of comics coming
Yeah,
out.
I mean, we were neck deep in '90s stuff, right? Like you remember when we remember everything. We remember Superman getting killed. We remember Bane breaking Batman's back. We remember the transition of like all the Superman and Azrael as Batman and everything
Oh
on
yeah,
everything on the Marvel side with like Maximum Carnage and stuff. So I mean, we were neck deep in that stuff, man.
I think even if you weren't into comics, you know what went down. You know that yeah, Superman was killed by Doomsday, and I think the big one is Wolverine getting his adamantium
Getting
ripped
pulled
out of
out,
him.
yeah, Magneto pulling that right out of him,
Like
man. And for
everyone knows that. You don't have to be a
yeah, you for a good
hard into
for
comics, but those are pinnacles.
it's funny because for a good hot minute we were watching X-Men cartoons throughout the '90s, and we were used to seeing Wolverine with adamantium. And then during that time when that cartoon's airing in comic books, he's got it ripped out. He's been running around like I think a decade plus with just bone, right?
Yeah, it was
Like a
just
good
bone
almost
coming
20
out.
years. Yeah, so it was crazy to like be like what happened there, and didn't have to go far back. And then like, it was during the Jim Lee run where the adamantium got pulled out, man. And so it's like that's another thing that pulled us right into the comic book room. But I know for me too, because I really love X-Men, so that's what got me going.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, you don't have to be a big comic book fan, but those moments in comic history really stayed with you growing up, because all these superheroes, they're invincible. Sure, they got their little weaknesses and that, but nothing to that extreme where you have Batman's back like getting busted, like or or Robin, getting killed, where everyone had to vote and they killed off Robin. Right?
Oh, poor Jason Todd,
You have
man.
to mail that. You have to mail all that in, and
Yeah.
a lot of sort of traumatic stuff happened to the heroes to show that they have a side of human there that they're vulnerable too, right?
And yeah, and then they chose to get a bit more. I guess you could say real, right? They like the '90s exposed a lot of stuff really going down, and like comics, of course, the social platform that it is spoke on a lot of that stuff and kind of brought it to the pages. So like we were in a period of transition where the world was changing, and like it is today again, right? But we're in a period of transition where it was changing back then too, from a very volatile place to like almost less volatile, and so we were seeing that in the books and. It really that the '90s, as people like to mock and say it's extreme, it did really follow through. What was really going down out there? So
Yeah,
So
I
now that
mean
we've
the
sort of
whole.
my apologies for interrupting you.
Yeah, no, go ahead, Red.
Um, so now that we've transitioned from more of our, more talking about characters than we do sort of the storylines that they participated in and the humanness about these characters, are there characters that from back in the day that left a very, very hard impression of you?
mhm.
I mean, I gotta say it was maybe more than one character. I mean, if you look at uh, X-Men, like the whole mutants being oppressed and being pushed aside or being mocked at,
Yeah,
I think if you're someone of a different background, or even if nerds back in the day, they were made fun of. It wasn't cool to be a nerd back in the day, right? Like we
that's
were
right.
the butt of all jokes. Like, oh, you read comics. Oh, this. Oh, you watch wrestling. Oh, you're a bunch of stuff. Like whatever hobby you liked as a kid that you still kept following, you were sort of made fun of for it
Ostracized
too,
for.
right?
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
ostracized. Yeah,
definitely, definitely. You have to read comics in like hiding almost at,
yeah,
at some
no,
point.
definitely, no, definitely. I remember you remember the days, man. We used to have just like take a corner and just be sitting and reading stuff, and then like when people walk by, you just like tuck it away, so you just don't get picked on, man.
Yeah, that's it, right? Like yeah, it's that. But you could relate to the characters though, because they're treated even worse in the comics.
Yeah,
Like I
exactly.
don't have a sentinel hunting me right now, because man, that would suck. I mean,
You know what I mean? Like I
but
think. Go on.
no, just
Because
I mean, yeah, go for it.
I think for us growing up, I think Spider-Man spoke a whole lot to us.
Hmm.
Because Pete was an everyman, right? Like, um, struggling, getting beat up in school. Well, not beat up, but getting made fun of in school, being ignored by the girl. Having to make rent and helping Aunt May, and what I mean. Like
Yeah,
he was generally us, even though he was, he was a white kid essentially, and we're
yeah,
not. But we had that connection to Pete because Pete was just an everyman. Like he was trying his best to just, do what a good guy can do. Yeah, and I think we gravitate to him more a lot because of that. And I mean with the X-Men, because they're the whole gang is just all inclusion. Everybody's different. Everybody joins in. But I mean that message is very clear for us, especially, right? But like I think when it comes to a character that we can really like latch onto, I think Spidey was the one for us when we were kids, man.
yeah. I think I would go with Spidey. And there's so many renditions of Spider-Man now, and the even the backgrounds of them all are pretty similar. Like you have Miles Morales now. He's
Hmm.
the Latino African American.
Hmm.
He loses his uncle. Just like how Peter Parker lost Ben. They go
Man,
through tragedy. They're just everyday people. They just go to school. They just want to aspire to be better.
that's right.
And yeah, you could relate to all the Spideys if you want. Um, maybe Spider-Man Noir, they're the Nick Cage one, maybe less so.
For
I like
sure.
to punch people in the face and then drink a whiskey after to feel good about myself. I mean, all right, man.
Whoa, man! Like, dial it back for a hot second. Like, chillax. We all like a drink, but whoa.
Well, exactly.
Hardcore 50s Spider-Man.
You know what? To be honest with you, I think because like again, we didn't really have too many ethnic characters when we were coming up, anyways, right? Like a lot of them were benched and not even used anymore. It's crazy to think there was an era of time where Black Panther was like a Z tier character and you wouldn't even use him. You know,
Yeah, Black Panther has come a long way than what he
yeah,
was back in the day. Like he was not very popular compared to now.
yeah, like completely just overshadowed. Luke Cage forgotten about, right? Like Blade
Hmm.
was put away until we got a movie from New Line Cinema, and then that brought him back to the to the forefront. And
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
but
So like for
The Blade movie, it's pretty much the Marvel movie that started the whole, phase 1 and 2 and all that. It
it,
was Blade.
it definitely did pave the way, right? Like it did start that, like everything afterwards try to follow through on that field. Like the X-Men movies try to follow on that field, or the Spider-Man movies, Sam Raimi stuff,
Yeah,
followed on that, on that same field. So like that was it was a nice predecessor. Like it did help jumpstart what we have today. It's one of the better film series minus Trinity, right? But
yeah,
1 and 2 they're good movies. They're watchable.
yeah. Very, very much so. Yeah. Oh yeah.
And he gave me someone to cosplay for like many Halloweens.
Right. Yeah, that's another thing. It was so hard, growing up trying to relate because, like you said, most of the characters were white,
Yeah,
were Caucasian, right? So there
yeah.
weren't many ethnic ones. Yeah, you had to go for like I guess Nightcrawler, like someone that was just different pigmentation, and be like, okay, well, I guess I'll go as Nightcrawler just because
Yeah, he's blue. It counts.
he's blue, and then you got other characters too that Jubilee was Asian, but in the comics she didn't look very Asian to me until it's
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, so she was Asian. So, um, but yeah, no, it's I think Daredevil. That's another character I like to
Hmm.
I like very much because you got me into the Born Again story. And it's Matt Murdock. It's like it's pretty much what COVID. It's pretty much a COVID story, except COVID's the kingpin in that. And
Yeah.
there, Matt Murdock loses his job. He loses
Take
his
everything away.
friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he had nothing, and he had to fight like hell to get his name out of the dirt and fight like hell to bring you know justice to Hell's Kitchen where he lives and cares about his hood, right? So
Oh yeah. Because
yeah, I
you remember
remember.
there's time where people used to just call Daredevil Diet Spider-Man. You know what I mean? And like
Yeah,
even
That's
exactly.
just
right,
insult
he
to
used to get
injury, honestly.
yeah, right. He used to get dogged a whole lot. So
Yeah,
when no with the Netflix show, and I remember you came to me and you were showing more interest in Daredevil. Like I mean, you were interested in him for like years, but like now is a time for that fire to be sparked. And like I remember Born Again. Like anything Frank Miller wrote for Daredevil was
yeah,
some
Miller is
classy
great.
stuff, man. Yeah, so I was just like, read this, man. If you want a Daredevil story to jumpstart in, man, and get that feel for Matt, read this book, dude. And then I remember I remember you took my book, you read it, and you gave it back to me, and you're like, bro, thank you for that. It was
Yeah,
so good. I'm like, yeah, I know.
yeah.
It's
I
one of
went
those.
and I bought it after at
Yeah.
the shop. I gotta own this. This is
If people in our chat would like a modern day recommendation for the Daredevil character, I highly recommend the run that's currently still going by Chip Zdarsky.
Mhm.
yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good run too. Yeah.
That is one of
Uh,
those comics that not only is it great if you were to put it in a bag and a board and pin it on your wall and use it, as decor if you're one of those people, but also to sit in your box because I promise you that story will not be just relevant this year in
Hmm.
the year of the Backstreet Boys concert, but also for the next 5.
yeah. I wouldn't
It
be
will be
surprised if they
the
use it for a Netflix show.
I
Oh
would
yeah.
not be surprised at all. You guys brought up a little bit earlier how the sort of characters of color, didn't so much start in your era, but as we've come towards more modern times, they've shown some more prevalence
Yeah.
because of these characters and having these influences on you. How has these sort of influences made you look at current events? Right, we've got riots, we've got injustices in this world. How has being raised in comics influenced the way you see that?
Wanna
I
go?
have to
You want me to
say, you read the comics and it's like, well, it's coming true.
go?
The
Yeah.
riots and it's people fighting, for their rights just to live amongst everyone, amongst us, the humans, right? So, uh, I mean, it does play a big factor uh, in that sort of gameplay, right? Like I don't know. You want to add anything, Gino? Or
I mean,
I'm looking for my words here.
yeah. For I guess yeah. I mean, we've come up in some rough neighborhoods, man. So, like that treatment where we were pretty exposed to from a young age. So, like seeing it still happen now is sad. And like even then, they were it was an issue brought up in a few books, right? Like they use it allegorically in a lot of like X-Men stuff, because of course X-Men is always about that theme of prejudice and being shunned
Mhm.
out, pariahs, right? So I mean they went through the struggle of like literally being hunted down, like how it is going, how it's going now in in the States now, right, with all the social injustice that's happening, right? Like literally, the X-Men were hunted down by giant, mutant hunting robots. Like literally, like it's some pretty harsh stuff, man. And um, it's rough to see it now, and it's sad that it's still happening. But each of these characters really do fit what's going on now, and they do speak on it a whole lot. Like Luke Cage has taken that social platform. Everybody has, Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan stuff is, being Muslim in anti-Muslim America is a big thing, right? Like there's a lot of stuff that's being written. It really does, fit today, and it's it's as sad as a message as it is to be talked about still, because by now we should be over racism. That should even be an issue. But we have these characters that do speak about that challenge it, and it forms other readers about what's really going on there, and it opens a lot of eyes. It's made me realize there's a lot of people out there who are not of ethnic background who do give a shit about who we are, and they will stand up for us. You know what I mean? So these books do inform those, and they do give us some help. So I mean, all the power to those who are writing these books, because thank you for understanding the message and getting it out there.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I have to say that there is a lot less backlash when you're taking an old school character and maybe just adding something to him. Like everyone's like, oh well, oh you're changing Aquaman. He's a white guy, but now you got Jason Momoa playing him. But it just fits the character. It's just Aquaman was never really respected. Come on, I
Yeah.
mean Momoa made him a badass. Yeah,
Correct.
yeah. So you see, Momoa played him and did a fantastic job. Brought in the Maori tattoos, the Hawaiian influence. I mean,
Yeah.
it's great to have Aquaman like that. Like there's Moana, but it's like I can't really relate to Moana, but like Aquaman, it's like you see him. He was raised on the out of the ocean, goes back to the ocean, and then oh, you're not like one of us. So it's kind of like kids that are of mixed origins or mixed cultures. One culture doesn't accept them because they're not 100% whatever that is, and then
Yeah.
they're not 100% what the other thing is, right? But it shows that yeah, he has to sort of fight for both, and then both sort of the Atlanteans and the upper world people all can coexist together
Yeah.
peacefully. That you guys don't have to butt heads and fight. So yeah, that's a good thing for it. And like I said before, Black Panther getting that
Mhm.
push, showing a different side of uh, what Africa, could be.
Yeah.
If they really got together and banded, and
Yeah.
it's very inspirational. Like look how Wakanda has better tech than Stark himself. And it they stumped Tony a couple times there. So that's pretty big on
Oh
there.
yeah.
Yeah, like you said, Luke Cage too is very street level. It's very he's fighting for his hood. He wants to live there, and he wants to like everyone. You don't. When you're from a rough area, you wish it wasn't so rough. So he's fighting for the people.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Oh
Hmm.
man.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, the first Spider-Man. Who doesn't want that one, right?
Yeah.
That's really out of the price range. I mean, um,
My apologies. The chat somehow couldn't hear us. I will repeat the question again.
yeah,
Um,
go ahead.
is there a Grail comic that you'd like to own that's currently out of your price range? Before you answer that, I'm going to open up to the chat after our my co-host here answer that question. We'll be taking one audience question, so if people want to type that in the chat, we'll do that next.
All right.
You guys were saying, Amazing Fantasy 15 for Spider-Man.
Oh, oh yeah, that's like in the millions. Like, I
um.
mean, I got the Grails I wanted. They weren't really out of the range. I guess it's more like the Frank Miller works of Batman, like the year I was at year one, and then I got the first Daredevil, Frank Miller, all CGC of course, and uh, I got uh, I got the first Deathstroke signed by Manu Bennett himself, the
Nice.
one
Dope,
guy to actually
dope.
do a fantastic job at Deathstroke. So I'm happy with those three. I don't really. I mean, if I did have, win the lottery and all that, then I'd probably be looking at other stuff. But I don't know. I guess like we were raised in the 80s and 90s. I guess something from the 80s and 90s really is pretty much a grail because there's so much nostalgia there.
Oh yeah, even a little bit further back. For me, it's gonna be probably Giant Size X-Men #1 with when we got the new roster, right? Storm, Colossus, Thunderbird,
Yeah, yeah.
Wolverine.
I mean, those are kind. I'll go back and be like, okay, well, I could always get the Wolverine issue where he gets his adamantium torn out. Like the
That's a good
pinnacle
one.
ones, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Key issues. Yeah.
yeah, the key issues are good enough in my books. I mean, I don't want anyone breaking into my house trying to take the Spider-Man cover. Right?
No, for
If I,
sure, right?
But I got a few too. I got a few on hand here too. Like
he's
First Appearance
reading
of
out his
Gambit.
Christmas list here.
Yeah.
Honestly, honestly.
But I mean, I got my grails here. I got some of them here too, like First Appearance of Gambit and First Appearance of Omega Red. So, I got a few here too. So I mean, I know what you mean. Like some key issues are good to have on hand. You know what I mean?
I hope they're not pinned on your wall.
Not
Make
anymore. I have. Yeah, I have. I have. For those that don't know, I have like First Appearance of War Machine. Like a whole lot, just a whole lot of good like movies
Yeah,
in there.
that's a good issue.
Yeah, I love looking at that book. It's the cover is so nice.
So our chat is you know sort of stewing in what you guys are saying, and so it doesn't have any questions quite yet. But I'll open up that floor again just in case nobody heard me that time. We are going to open up to a chat question if one is asked. But I do have another question for you, gentlemen.
Hmm.
Yeah.
How did you collect comics back in the day, and what is your current collection, or how do you have access to comics now?
Uh, if I would have known that the comics I picked up when I was younger would be worth a lot of money, I would have been more careful with them. It was pretty much bag and board back in the day,
Yeah.
and just throw them in a tub or a drawer. And then there's that
Shoot.
odd one that's under the bed.
Yeah. Giant box, whatever you can get your hands on.
Yeah, now it's I find that now you have more of the tools that you need for the comics. Like you have like acid-free boxes now instead of the
Yeah.
cardboard boxes, right? You got CGC comics now that are graded, and just having them graded now brings them up in price now because the raw ones are kind of hard to offload because they're not CGC, and people now they're all about the CGC or
Yeah.
CBCS.
It's
As
awesome
for me right
creative.
now, I got a lot of CGC ones now that I got. I got a lot of raw ones, but you could always mail those to CGC and they grade them and they send them back. That costs a lot of money.
That cost you a
And
pretty penny. Just a handful of years ago, I think 2 years ago, I got the first Mongoloids when the Avengers first fight the Mongoloids,
Mhm.
yeah,
signed by Neil Adams.
ooh,
Right, so I
smooth.
got that graded, and let me tell you, that was a pretty penny to get that done.
Yeah, and it's with the CGC now. What's really tough is the autographs. You gotta have like a witness there to watch the artist or publisher or actor sign it now. Because if you send it in with the autograph, even if you have a picture, it'll come back red label as unverified. Like, yeah, it's autographed, even though you have the proof. We can't confirm because we weren't there. But I think CBCS is a little bit more lenient there. But I didn't really look into it. I always make sure to see if it's the gold one. That way, um, it's they were there. Someone witnessed it from CGC. The funny thing is now what's his name geez, we're just talking about him before
Neil Adams.
no, not Neil Adams, Jim Lee, sorry, Jim Lee.
Mhm.
And Jim Lee, he no longer has CBCS or CGC go and witness like his autographs. It's either you go meet him, he autographs it, or that's it, because he doesn't like it for some odd reason. I'm not
Oh
sure.
yeah.
I
Huh.
guess because it was too much. Like you didn't, like when you're in school and you have the teacher walk right by you and stand and watch you like draw or do your math or whatever, and he's just like kind of weirded out. I guess maybe that's why. But yeah, if you have any Jim Lee that's already a CGC, like expect that to shoot up in price because he doesn't do that anymore. It's not his thing. Neil Adams doesn't care. He's a great guy. He's like, oh, whatever.
Yeah. The I have a Superboy #1, like Death of Superman, like Con. Well, who would become Con L?
Oh
I have
yeah.
that sound signed by Kessel himself.
Yeah.
Ooh.
However, I can't verify that signature because I bought it in just a long box. I bought it like 50 comics, and it just so happened to be in there, and it's not. Since it's unverified, it just sort of hangs on my wall. I put it in one of those nice frames that you can put on your wall. Put a nail in my wall, and there it is.
I guess all the comic book aficionados would appreciate that and like that when you go over and you see something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, come on, that's pretty awesome in itself. I mean,
Right? That's one of those characters that I fully identify with. Um, and so to have not only that incarnation's first appearance and to have it signed by the person who created him is it's one of those things that warms the cockles of my heart, you know?
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's yeah. It is at the end of the day, it's what like in Rick and Morty, like what that Rick said to Jerry. If it has value to you, Jerry, that's what counts. That's what makes it valuable.
It's true.
Right.
But it is a great comic for anyone that's a comic book aficionado. They'd see that and they'd be like, "Man, that's dope, man!" Like, cause that you don't see that every day, right? Autographs are hard to come by now with the whole COVID conventions being on hold. I mean, it's hard to get anything signed now and to get anything verified.
It's just
But
a
I
whole
know
pain in the
there's,
butt, you know?
yeah, I know, but there's some companies that do verify signatures. I think it's the JSA. As funny as that sounds, they
Nice.
verify. They give you like a sticker, and they're well known. They do all that for all kinds of memorabilia, like sports or comics or whatever. So they're just as credible as CGC. They got people there that study like calligraphy, and they see that. All right, he didn't forge this because the pen stayed on the paper, type of thing.
Yeah.
We have had a question in our chat, and that's from one of our other co-hosts. They say, given that you guys were into comics before anything worth a damn had ever been on screen, is it more vindicating or disappointing to what's been going on in TV shows and movies?
Hmm. Hey, when it comes to the Marvel side of things,
Yep, here we go.
they've been doing really good in that aspect. I mean, some things here and there are not perfect, but like they're
Yep.
giving that fan service. As we're on the DC side of things,
Oh boy.
their
Get the
cartoons are
coffee
great.
brewing.
The cartoons are fantastic. Everything else is
Yep.
fucking questionable, man.
Yeah, the Spider-Man Noir directing them. Yes, more whiskey on that one.
Yeah.
I mean,
Honestly.
you know what? I think out of all the superhero movies, the one movie that I didn't really I couldn't find much to nitpick on
Mm.
was Into the Spider-Verse.
I love
I
that. I
can't.
love it.
I
love it.
love that movie, and it's just wow. It's I think it's a bold statement, but it is the best Spider-Man movie out there. Um, like Shino said, the DC does a fantastic job with their cartoons and their cartoon movies. The art is on point. The voice actors, they get great actors. Um, Marvel, whoa, did they ever lack on the cartoon side?
Yeah.
I mean, it's good if you're like a 5-year-old kid and you see some of their movies, but wow. But the movies, Marvel has come a long way. They found their recipe and they're making it work. DC is getting there, with Wonder Woman coming out and Aquaman. They're getting their footing back. Let's just hope, they don't take two steps backwards. I'm very confident with the new Suicide Squad. Gunn at the helms, great director. So far, I like what I see, and I think everyone can agree that that's how Suicide Squad should have came out in the first place.
Yeah.
Agreed. For those that are interested in more of an in-depth discussion on all of those DC movies, we have an entire playlist on our new Crusade YouTube channel, to which we go in-depth, movie by movie, two at a time, through the entire DCEU.
There you have it,
Yeah.
folks.
And try to
Go listen to that.
try to enjoy it.
Some knowledge. They're dropping science.
Yeah.
Dropping facts,
We're the
no
pros.
printer. Like,
Right? And I'm sure everyone who's from that's brought up with the comics can relate. I mean, it is frustrating, but at the same time, we sort of I think we've gotten prone to it because we're just like I think we're more surprised if they do it right. Like I said,
Yeah.
like the new Suicide Squad's like, whoa, they actually did it right, and it's not like, oh boy, here we go.
Yeah. Be a
Like
shit ass sequel. Oh my god.
oh god, it's a new Batman. He looks like Daredevil fighting everyone. Like the Pattinson Batman. Oh my gosh, it like. Well, I could only be hopeful for it, but I'm not holding my
That's all
breath
we
for
got.
it.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
nobody's
all we
holding your
got,
breath on
man.
that one.
So it's nice to see, like, you see Wonder Woman and you're like, oh, hey, yeah, you get surprised. But when you go in with, like, all these big expectations, like, it has to be by the comic book, that's when you're that's when you're left 2 nuggets short of a Happy Meal type of thing.
Yeah, kind of
Absolutely.
deal.
With us coming to the close to an end of our this part of our charity event, is there any last minute things you'd like to say on what might this event mean, and just the comic book situation as a whole, the entire industry?
The industry is changing, man. I don't know. So, what do you think? What do you think of the industry today? I mean, it has come a long way.
The change is important, man, because again, everybody's got to be included, and that means from the creation all the way up, right? I'm happy to see more. There's a couple more, those with ethnic backgrounds getting into the mainstream industry. There's a lot of females working in the industry now. I mean, that was never a cause beforehand. They've always been there, but it's good to have them vocally be there more than beforehand. Um, everything they're writing their experiences into into the script, man, and it's all valid themes and all valid stories that have something like a core to them. So I mean, the industry again, comics have always been a social platform, so it's nothing new, but it's good that more of those who have gone through it are writing about it more so than those who've heard about it and are now trying to make it come to light. Those who've actually gone through the experience are now writing their experiences through these characters, and for me, that's super important too. So, the industry's changed for good, and by extension, it's weeded out a lot of the negative ones who are in the industry who shouldn't be there. And and
Mm.
again, social warriors have won. So I mean, hey, why not?
Yeah, I find I, I I wish there were more comic book stores today, because now I feel there's very little of them. I mean, the Edmonton area has a lot of them. You have the Warp One, Comic King. You got a bunch of them there. That's great.
We've
Other
got our
places,
very
not
own
so
Variant
much.
Edition that shortly after this program, we'll be on with them, talking about exactly how the industry is relating to their aspect of the industry.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I'd like to see that. Like when I go in a comic store, when I see little kids go in and get a comic, I'm like, man, like the newer ones, obviously the different materials are being used. The art's different. It's almost like a magazine now, whereas back in the day it was kind of like that newspaper thing. And kind of like Walt said it in Comic Book Man, it's just the smell of the old '90s one. It's not some people it's not a pleasant smell, but to me it's a nostalgic smell. It's now with comics, you could read them online now. So to me that's pretty good, because if you have like a Grail, you're kind of scared. You don't want to read that with like
Yeah,
tweezers or chopsticks, right? So you could read that, instead of manipulating a comic a certain way, being scared to crease the spine and all that. It's
yeah,
the comic. The era has changed a lot. Like you said, it's more inclusive. It's more you see more ethnic superheroes, so kids today can relate to them more. You also have Daredevil, Professor X for the handicapped people. They're representing that population right there too, right? And I'm also very happy to see the lesser known comic books blow up. Like it's not always Marvel and DC. Now um, like Homelander. You have
yeah,
the AMC Walking Dead. Who would have thought Walking Dead was gonna be what it is today? Like that comic was very it wasn't popular back in the day. Or the Umbrella Academy too. It's big. It's a big Netflix
Even
show.
yeah,
Amazon's
And then you got The
The
Boys.
Boys. Yeah.
yep,
Yeah,
yep,
that's yeah. So you see the little guys now, they're starting to come out with good movies. Like good shows. So it's good for them, for the little guys to grow in a company that was dominated primarily by DC and Marvel. So that to me that's awesome. And you have other artists, especially with the cons now, conventions. Comic cons back then, you know they were hard to come by. You had like your Star Trek con and all that. But now Comic Cons, you have all these crazy artists coming out. Like they're drawing crazy stuff out there, and they're gonna eventually blow up. You got your other Jim Lees coming up. You got a bunch of other guys with talent coming up, and
yeah,
there's more opportunity now than back in the day. It was a hard gig. I mean, if you look at Stan Lee, man, like he really fought tooth and nail to have his stories told, and have these stories that are with us for the rest of our lives, that we pass down to our kids and all that. Yeah, I know it's
yeah.
cheesy, and it's bringing a tear to my eye, but yeah, no. But it's yeah, it's great. It gives everyone something to aspire to be. Like, yeah, I'd like to do comics, or I like to draw. It gives you something to do that keeps you out of trouble. Like I remember comics back in the day, like even in the 70s and all that. Uh, kids weren't like you read a comic, it was looked down upon, kind of like how today's like, oh, you play too much video games, it's it's getting to your head, and the comic books would be like, you're reading too many comic books, it's getting to your head, you're becoming crazy. So now it's more accepted, now it's more mainstream, and it's it's cool to be a nerd now, it's cool to read comics, you don't got to go hiding and in little corners with like a group of friends and like, what you get? Oh, I got this one. All right, I got X-Men. All right. So
As a person that
it's
has
come a
grown
long
up,
way.
thank you for that. As a person who's grown up in more modern times, like I didn't read comics till I was consistently until I was in my first year of university. And you have to imagine by just the way I sound, like that just wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, that's all right.
I mean, I'm in the industry now, and we've gotten a hold of many a professional industry, and even those that have done their own creator-owned comic series are now seems to be the way of the future. And we appreciate that everybody with a passion and a drive to put on anything and have that succeed, and you could hold that physically in your hand. We salute those people very, very hard.
Oh yeah, for those about to rock, we salute you.
Absolutely.
Right on.
And on that note, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on. We welcome you on our show anytime the topic so fits you.
Right on.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thanks for having me as the illustrious guest. I feel it's been a privilege, talking to you guys and bringing back the nostalgia and all that. So yeah, appreciate it very much, and I hope you guys raise a lot of money.
Hope so too. It's good to hear from you, man. You've always been my longtime collaborator.
You betcha, brother.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Those that are listening to our show on twitch.tv/nerdcrusade, for about a minute or so, we will have some music playing, and then we'll be back right here, me and Shino, with Variant Edition's co-owner.
Right on.
We'll be right back.
Hey, how's it going? Good, good. No, because I was out doing deliveries. Awesome.
Yeah, I'm ready here. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, it's going good.
Good,
Mm-hmm.
yes. I'm very, very. How do I sound now? Still pretty quiet. A volume thing, maybe. Hold on. 2 seconds. Sorry about that. How about now?
Oh yeah, I can hear him quite well actually.
Okay. Okay, no problem.
It probably is because I can hear him fairly clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Those in between. In this very special segment, we have an interview with Variant Edition's owner, Brandon Schass.
Hello. How's it going?
Not
bad.
so bad at all. We've had a very exciting charity stream thus far.
Been pretty good, yeah.
That's awesome. It's good to hear.
So, Shino, if you would like to start our guest off with our first question here.
All right. What was our first question again? Sorry. My thing was, okay, so my question for you is getting into the business, when did you start? How did you start? And what drove you to get started?
Oh wow. Okay, so I started when I moved to Edmonton about 14 years ago. I'd always been into comics. I'd been reading them for as long as my cousins told me I wasn't allowed to touch their comics. That was kind of a bit of an impetus for me to be like, I'm not allowed to read these. Maybe I should check them out. So that was maybe when I was about 8 or 9. And I moved to Edmonton when I was about 20, 21.
Right.
Had to have been 21 if I'm here for 14 years. And I'd started searching for a comic store. Went around to several different places to try and figure out where I would end up getting my stuff. And only one place in the city had somebody who, when I walked through the door, said, "Hey, how's it going?" Which was not an experience I had when I lived in Red Deer.
Oh yeah.
Like the process of Red Deer was, and he still has a store. is a good dude when he has seen you for a good 6 months. But that's, I personally believe that's no way to run a business.
Right.
But like the first time in my life that I had an experience where I walked through the door and somebody said hi,
like
that
actual
was
customer
Wizards.
service.
Exactly, that was Wizards Comics. I walked in and they also literally just put a sign for help wanted in the window.
Oh yeah.
And I kind of checked them out, said I will come back with my list of comics, and I came back with my list of comics and a resume. Apparently my list of comics was robust enough that they're like, oh wow, this kid actually knows.
Like he reads.
Yeah, he reads the stuff and he seems to be fairly into it. The interview process was showing up to pick up my comics for a couple of weeks, them kind of asking me some comics-based questions, and then the second time I visited, the owner going like, so would you like to work here? So I did. For some time. Ended up quitting there because for a lot of reasons. One of the main ones was I'd kind of been looking at the curve of what comics was, the industry was going to do and where it was going.
Right.
I would say things like, hey, we need to sort of think about how we're purchasing these things and where we want to point the business. And they told me that my ideas weren't welcome.
Okay.
Unfortunate.
They use different language.
Really?
It was more blunt, but I mean, like, I'd been working there for a long time, and that was sort of the culture there, was just to be a bit more brusque. But at that time, I was like, it's really, at the end of the day, I'm making you money. I would like to continue to eat and I guess make you money, but if that's not going to be the case, like, if you're telling me that the way that I view the industry going, I'm going to lose my job one day, I'm going to not do that.
Right.
Yeah, I want to take a hard
and
balance
that's how,
out of that for sure.
Exactly, and that's how Variant Edition ended up starting and evolving from there. I gave a huge credit to my partner in the store and in life, Danica, who is also sort of more of the grounding, because I'll have over the years been like, oh, and I'm doing this and I'm doing it this way, and she'll be like, why though?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be like, well, because there's that's how it's been done. And she goes, but that's dumb, and here's why. And you go, oh, you're not wrong about that. So having that voice to even push past, I believe myself to be fairly progressive about sort of the comics industry and the ideas in it. To have a voice even push past that to like, no, but let's look at this practically. I guess what I'm saying is the secret to running a successful comic book business is to run it as a business.
Yeah. But remember the customer, pretty much, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
And I would say that circling all the way back to that store in Red Deer, that when we as the Nerd Crusade took a trip to your store just a handful of weeks ago, the welcoming environment from both you and Danica is not something I personally have experienced in this city either, and I'm so glad that your store provides that now.
Honestly, it was truly unexpected to be real with you. You guys were greeting from the get go, right? Like even just walking in, I believe Danica gave me a wave, and you were out and about, and you said hi, and I was just like, well, I mean, wow, thank you.
And that was before you folks had even introduced who you were.
Well, exactly, right? We didn't even give you any notion of who we were. We were just in the store, just minding our business, and you guys were just super helpful. And you know what? Not even pushy or anything. It's like if we had questions, I'm sure you guys would have answered, but you let us do our browsing and walk around, and you know what I mean, like completely polite. And the atmosphere again was just very, very cozy in there.
Absolutely, like our our idea is to, like, one, say hi to make sure that you know that you're welcome in the space, partly because of how comic stores are generally run. And then to kind of give a bit of rope to see like how you're looking, where you're looking, and to kind of gauge like, oh, would you like some recommendations? Would you like some help? Because some people have the air of like, I know what I'm doing, I know what I want, leave me alone.
Yeah, yeah.
And the proper response to that is leave them alone.
Just let them do their thing.
Exactly. So yeah, it's a bit of reading people and a bit of just being a decent human being.
Mm.
I've got a question here for you.
Mm-hmm.
As I was browsing through your store, there's a lot of inclusivity. Like you try to keep it as available for everybody as humanly possible.
Yeah.
And so what a question I come up with is, in your store, how do you cater to those that love books and love comics, but maybe their first language isn't English?
That's a good question. So lately we've started trying to bring in, whenever we can and whenever it seems appropriate, alternative language content. Spanish tends to be an easy one to get. French, weirdly more difficult than I'd like, especially considering this is Canada.
Yeah.
It's one of our national languages. But we've also found sort of our all ages area to be very helpful, especially for folks wanting to learn English.
Yeah.
And go from there. There's also a few books that we make sure we carry that actually have dyslexic friendly fonts, so that folks can work with that too. And it's I think the main key to anything like that, whether it's even alternative languages or I say alternative, it's languages, or just basically alternative to what our stock tends to be, I guess, or even just keeping in mind people's different preferences all the way from genre to even who they want to see as protagonists. Is being mindful about those things and open to digging into them instead of just being like, oh, that's going to take some time. Like, well, yeah, everything does. It's a matter of kind of what you want to be and present to the world, and to make sure that you can, at the very least, make the efforts that you can in such a way that is helpful. Sometimes you can't always meet the questions, but sometimes that's down to product chains and whatnot, what you have access to. But if you're not asking, then those product chains never exist.
Right.
So
Shino, the next one's on you.
Okay. I did take notice to like the creators corner that you have there. Just wondering, how often do you get like independent artists coming to your store and asking to get a showcase, and how does the process work? How does someone get their their stuff showcased on your shelves?
So yeah, we do have a nice local comics area. We had a shelf custom built to look like the province, and that's sort of like our main showcase area. Honestly, it's fairly easy to get your stuff in the store, generally speaking. We do vet it a little bit, because while we like everyone's expression of art, we're also very mindful about anything that might be harmful to folks.
Yes.
So we do try and keep that in mind. And have had to kind of like reject a couple things before for uh, violence against specific people.
Right, content reasons. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, and I was like, oh no,
No.
because it's also a message of what you're carrying on shelf.
Right.
There's a difference between I can get that for you, and here is something that I believe we should have for anybody walking in randomly, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So it's really, if anybody is a local creator and wants their items on our shelves, we do have a consignment program that is fairly good for folks, and they can message us and ask what those details are, and we can go from there.
Yeah.
For those unaware of the kind of industry as a whole, what is it like running a comic book store? Well, pre Backstreet Boys concert, and then during Backstreet Boys concert, what is the atmosphere like?
That is a very good question. So we're talking about eras, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
So, how the atmosphere of your store sort of changed with the changing of the ties that was the Backstreet Boys concert.
I wanna say I remember this in joke that you guys have, but I can't remember the exact context of it.
So to provide some context, there's a very specific platform that doesn't like to use the direct medical term for the thing that made us shut indoors for a handful of months.
Yeah.
And so to circumvent around that, a bunch of us creators on the platform have started using the Backstreet Boys concert.
I love it. Right. I seem to remember when we're hanging out in the comments of your live stream on Thursday night a couple weeks ago that we kind of pieced it together.
Yeah.
But we weren't entirely we're very new to the Twitch platform, honestly. But we're like, oh, that's interesting. So yeah, that's good to know. So kind of, we're a weird situation where things didn't change a whole lot for us.
Right.
Now part of that is just because of how we built the business beforehand. We've actually been doing in-city delivery for 4 years now.
Whoa.
And that started out because we were aware of some low mobility folks who were having trouble coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought to ourselves, wait a second, like, isn't this an issue that could be solved with, some kind of delivery system set up? So we kind of built out the bones from there, not charging people with specific low mobility for kind of once a month deliveries, and then small fees to cover gas for people who just can't make it in due to time issues, but are more than capable of doing so. Kind of that goods and service thing of if you're not spending your time, I'm spending mine, so there's a charge for that type of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and it went from there. So when the Backstreet Boys concert began, we were in this position where we have a robust online store and two components to it: one where you can adjust your subscriptions, and one where you can just sort of browse more graphic novel type things.
Right.
And it offers the two different experiences. One, if you're not really aware of things that you like, our online store, you can search by genre, and then when you're in there, you can fine tune it. So if you're like, hey, I like horror, but I want a fantasy element to it, there's a refine tool where you can take those horror books and click on the fantasy element, and then it refines the choices even more. Sort of like the experience of coming in the store, where we can recommend to your tastes. We kind of built our website to do that too. And so between having our delivery system already running and smoothed out, and having a website where you can kind of browse the way that we would kind of recommend things to you, and even subscribing to books, and our social media, which we ended up doing daily videos for the shutdown that happened here in Alberta. It actually didn't change too much, other than Diamond stopped delivering items. But again, one of those things, we had moved a lot of our orders away from Diamond in terms of graphic novels, because they're actually the worst at graphic novels.
Yeah, we've heard.
by default, they're the best at single issues, but it's because they were the only single issue comics distributor out there.
Yeah.
And so you can be the best by also being the worst if you're the only one.
Right. Not only are you the best by default, but you're also the worst by default. You are in first and last place.
Exactly.
Become the villain. Yeah.
Yeah, and so a lot of that too is sort of, if you're not trying to better yourself in that situation, like, it's very easy to contextualize them as the worst, and quite honestly, they are.
Oh, I had my list of questions. I lost my questions now.
I could go again.
That's all good.
If you need.
Yeah, please. I lost my questions here.
So for those that like, for some youngsters that might be coming into your store, what would you recommend for some people that, you know, your 7 to 10 age group, your sort of 10 to 15 age group?
So we actually have the back third of our store is mostly all ages product, and we have those somewhat divided into 3 areas: littles, middles, and young adult. So the littles area is sort of more of the easier reading things. We keep those on the lower shelves in certain sections. And then the middles, we have a little higher. The young adult, we have sort of more in its own section of a lot of the young adult stuff kind of bleeds into middles, just because of everyone's different reading levels and all that kind of stuff. But we also have all of our graphic novels separated out by genre. And so in the all ages section, we have things like Creatures, which is more about like animals and cryptids and all that kind of stuff. Adventure, magic, space and robots, learning, and heroes and slice of life stuff. So we've kind of got that sort of base level of organization out there, and then otherwise we always ask people what their tastes are, or what their kids' tastes are, or who they're buying for, what their tastes are, to try and recommend stuff. Our main focus when we do that is to ask them about anything other than comics, because if they're asking, then it's kind of not helpful to ask them what kind of comics they like. They don't know yet.
Right. And I see, even on your website, you promote it very blatantly that you fancy yourself a comic sommelier.
Yes. I forget how that term came up, but I didn't come up with it. Somebody did, and I'm like, I'm stealing this.
Coined the phrase for you.
Yeah, basically pairing people with the stories that they are going to love the most.
To further along that, for those that are new to your store, you have a very interesting way of finding out exactly what people are interested in and how to assign comics to them. Could you explain a little bit about that?
Absolutely. One of the easiest ways that we find doing that is playing a game called Pick 3, which is basically asking people for 3 things that they're interested in, usually from TV, movies, or prose books. Sometimes even musical tastes can be thrown in there too. And we kind of like blend that in our heads and come out with something that has elements of all 3 in there. And then we
So-
recommend that to the person.
Right on.
So
Okay.
with that being said, I would invite
Mhm.
anybody that's in our chat right now to post those, and we will throw those at our on our comic sommelier here, and he will and we'll play a couple rounds of that
Right on.
later on in this event, if that's okay with you, Brandon.
Oh, 100% it is.
Right on. Every story usually has that one or two artifacts, you know what I mean? Something that's vintage or old or just priceless that sits on the shelf and people often contemplate about buying, or it's one of those rarer things that you can find in a store. You have one of those?
Sort of like a hard to find or like a really cool.
Yeah.
We do. But it doesn't tend to be our main focus, basically.
Really? What would it be?
Well, so there's this thing that we kind of push against, and a little bit of it is because so many of the other stores do it and do it a lot better than we could. Our focus is so much on connecting people with story, that what you're speaking for is more of the collector's end. And while we do get in a lot of those, it's not our primary focus in terms of the push out to people.
Right.
I want to definitely say that that's not a bad thing that happens. It's just sort of like we feel like we have a specific role in this industry, and to become a collector, first you have to be a reader. And so I feel like we are a bit of a feeder system for a lot of places, and sometimes that feeder system ends with us because they're very happy with their service, and sometimes it ends with collecting other things, in which case we'll fully admit that we're not the best place to go to if you're looking for that kind of premium book, basically.
Okay.
I can sure speak to me and Shino here. We are on different scales. I'm more of a collector and a reader and a story appreciator, whereas my co-host here can speak for himself if you'd like.
I don't know. I haven't read in a long time. I fell off, to be honest with you. For me, though, way back in the day, I did collect a whole lot, and a lot of my stuff was, again, I think I've already spoken about it a bunch of times, but a lot of my stuff was more of the original run of 90s X-Men, 80s Spider-Man, the stuff that had like a lot of core storylines going on at the time, even further back. So for me, nowadays it's more of the nostalgia for me. I haven't really collected it in so long. It'd be nice to get back into it, but I'm stuck with the old era. And that's what I've been on, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's awesome. No, go ahead.
And that sort of puts us in a super nice dichotomy, right? Let's promote Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil, and he's very much okay, if you like Daredevil, the one you have to read is Frank Miller's.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the things I really love about the medium is that despite what a lot of people will tell you, man, old stories exist and they don't go bad.
No, they don't. No, because I believe we were walking through your store when we went to go visit, and we were looking at some covers, and Red had shown me, what's going on with Excalibur. Cool and all. I like the idea. But then at the same time, on that same stand, I pulled out a book. I'm like, hey, look at this. They have God Loves Man Kills, a really good X-Men storyline that happened like way back. You guys should read this, And again, it speaks to the whole generation of like, this is what's happening now, but check this stuff out too. This, this story was heavy hitting, and it had a lot of stuff into it. So, like he said, we have that nice range, and we kind of educate each other.
That's awesome, and that's the way it really should be, is additive.
Yeah.
another prime example of that is without me and my co-host Table, Shino here would not have read Tom King's Mr. Miracle,
Yeah.
Ooh.
and that there is a life-changing book.
Yeah.
There was my life pre Mr. Miracle and getting all the way through it for the third time in one sitting. And then there was after that.
Right.
Yeah, Tom King's really built some wonderful finite runs. Mr. Miracle is probably one of the pinnacles of that. His Vision series is also really good.
I hear.
And Sheriff of Babylon. There's a single issue of that where two characters get drunk sitting by a pool. That's one of my favorite issues of comics of all time.
Oh yeah.
It just has so much character in it and so much of this because they're coming from these completely different perspectives, but they're just sort of like getting drunk and sharing those perspectives.
Yeah.
And partly because they're drunk, they're just like, you know what, this makes a lot of sense, because it takes away all of that precious like ego in a lot of ways in that scene. So yeah, it's great.
Oh yeah.
Because of the platform we're using to capture audio, I've sent you a message. There's give or take about 8 minutes left in this version of the call. I will start the call back up again, and we will, when we're about 2 minutes in, or 2 minutes to end, and then we'll just keep going.
Yeah, sounds good.
So the big book I find amongst kids, I've got some young cousins, and they really enjoy Dogman.
Oh, of course.
Right? I mean, every kid in all of North America right now is reading Dogman. Like Dave, how do we pronounce his last name?
Dev Pilkey, yeah.
Thank you. I used to read him as in Captain Underpants.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? And so now...
So
yes, go ahead.
So the latest 2 volumes of Dogman have initial print runs of 5 million copies.
Crap.
So yeah, so when a lot of people are like, oh, that stuff doesn't count for the comics industry. No. That stuff is the comics industry right now, my friends. When people discount Scholastic as a publisher, between Dave Pilkey and Raina Telgemeier, like not only is that the current comics industry, but that's begetting the future comics industry. It's pretty wild.
So now that they've read Dogman, where should I point them?
Oh goodness, there's a lot of good places, especially right now that everybody's sort of pointed at all of these comics, and that they're making a lot of making a lot of money. There's a lot that I would suggest. One of my favorites is Bird and Squirrel, which does sort of have more of that goofiness mixed with like a bit of regular show type feel.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, I find a lot of comics these days have very much of a regular show type feel.
Yeah.
Especially for all ages. While it's not a comic, it definitely borrows a lot from comics specifically, and is sort of more of that prose illustrated mix that you found with actually more so with Captain Underpants, because that was more prose art mix and not so much like comic specific. But a series called The Bad Guys goes over extremely well. It's basically like all kinds of animals that were or have been pegged as being evil, who decide that they're like a wolf or a spider and a shark and all this kind of stuff, and are like, no, we're gonna prove that we're actually good, that we're good people, and we're gonna push past maybe some bad tendencies that we have and try and do well. And I've read a few of those too after some suggestions from folks, and like those are two places that I would definitely point Dogman readers towards.
For those making notes, could you repeat those for us again?
Yeah, absolutely. Bird and Squirrel is more directly the graphic novel end of things, and The Bad Guys is the other one that I mentioned. Bird and Squirrel is by a writer named James Burks, writer artist, and then Bad Guys is Aaron Blabey, Blabey, and Aaron with two A's, RON.
That will make searching for it, or even searching for it on your website, very easy now.
Absolutely.
Shino, you're next.
I'm pretty much out of questions. You asked them all the good ones.
My apologies.
So basically, you said what comic book got you started? You said that something got you into the whole medium. Which title pulled you in?
So this one's a bit of a weird one. Not for obscurity, but because a lot of people will kind of be like, what, really? I mean, outside of Archie, which got me like first reading comics, but what kind of got me into the medium in a way that was like, well, I guess I'm here now. Sensational Spider-Man #0, the first issue that Ben Reilly takes over the mantle of Spider-Man.
Oh, from Scarlet Spider to Spider-Man himself.
Yeah. The Clone Saga stuff, I'd been hearing about it for quite some time. And one of my cousins collected Spider-Man. My other cousin collected X-Men. X-Men seemed a little too complicated for me.
Okay.
But I mean, like the Clone Saga wasn't any less complicated.
Yeah.
But the idea that my cousin refused to let me even touch those books kind of said about like, ooh, this is very interesting. And then Sensational Spider-Man #0 was specifically a jumping on point. Like the Clone Saga had quote unquote ended.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
We put it
And
on
this
screen
was the
for those
way
at home.
forward. So yeah. Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one. I mean, hey, you know what? Ben Reilly made an impact when he was there. I know a lot of people who fell in love with like Scarlet Spider, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's had a lasting impact. I mean, I'm not opposed to having Ben Reilly come back in any form.
Absolutely, same.
What I will do now is I will end this call because of the free version of Zoom, and we will be right back with some more of my co-host Shino and Brandon from Variant Edition.
Stay
Right on.
tuned. Hey.
And we're back.
Yeah.
Shino, are you here with us?
Yep, right here.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
We have a another question on the docket here before we start playing a game of pick three.
Mm-hmm.
In the age of instant gratification, like my attention span is just getting, just absolutely sucks now that I've downloaded TikTok.
Yeah.
Mhm.
How can comic books and even digital reading adapt to that?
So a lot of it already is. What you're seeing is it's harder and harder for ongoing series to gain traction. This is somewhat opposite as to what the industry has been up until fairly recently, because an ongoing series you would get more readers subscribe to, somewhat even through inertia, than you would a miniseries. A miniseries would be like, oh, well, they don't have faith in the series or whatnot. But now you're getting these things like Mr. Miracle, like DC's Black Label line, and a few other ideas, where because it's a concise thought and that it can say something and call it a day at the end of it, a lot of people are moving more towards those projects, both in superhero areas and in creator-owned areas. A lot of people are moving to graphic novels because it is the binge format, really.
Yeah.
And you are definitely seeing that shift, because it's not even just competing against other comic book series out there. It's competing against, and it's not just competing against Netflix. It's competing against every good thing that a person's ever enjoyed, because now it's not, this is available now and you have to buy it and own it. It's available now, and like if you want to stream something like The Office, which apparently as of like 2 weeks ago was once again the second most streamed show,
Wow.
including new television on any kind of streaming platform. Like, you're competing against that. You're competing against a person's want to just sort of find that thing that they know is good, instead of the thing that might be okay.
Yeah.
And so the trick is you can't really do an ongoing unless it's amazing. And comics are having a tough time adjusting, partly due to inertia, but a lot of companies are, and they're doing quite well with it, honestly.
All right. Well, shall we start that game?
Absolutely. And I'm looking at the chat stream, and I do agree The Office isn't even that good. I did really like it, but it's one of those things where you go back and visit it and again, and you go like, oh.
Like it's all right sitcom as for what it is, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, as far as the fandom goes, it could be a little overrated. I can kind of agree to that too. Some of it's funny. I've seen some things here and there. I'm just like, that's pretty funny. But overall, like that, like I guess, I mean, everybody, everyone has a fandom. So I mean, all the parts of the Office fans, right? But
yeah, there's a good 3-season show inside the like 8 or 9 that it got.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the same with Community too. Like, its later seasons maybe not so much, but its first 3, magical.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Yep.
That also speaks to comics having an end, like going exactly 12 issues and knowing when to write a story and knowing when to stop, versus say Batman and Tom King's Batman having 100 issues.
Well, he did a good try. It got to 85.
I think now we'll switch to our pick 3 game. So in the chat, we had somebody named Mama Silver.
Yes.
And so their favorite show is Big Bang Theory.
Right
their favorite song is Pour Some Sugar on Me by Def Leppard. And then for books, they are obsessed with autobiographies.
Awesome. So this was actually part of the reason why I went to the chat stream. Was like, I'm gonna get prepared. That one was a little bit of an easier kind of go for me. I would definitely suggest a series called Action Philosophers.
Okay.
It gets in your nerdy content. It gets in your auto bio because it's about philosophers. And to pour some sugar elements is the presentation that they do with it. Which, when I say action philosophers, it goes through all of their philosophies, but does so in a very entertaining fashion, including like wrestling tropes, or even sort of like more music video, or even down to doing stuff in like Peanuts cartoons style. Like it's extremely interesting, and it sort of hits the nerdy, hits the auto bio, and hits sort of the more sensational aspects.
Mm-hmm. Right on.
Shino, I have to step away for a hot second.
Okay.
If you could go through the chat and yours also while I go deal with something. I'll be right back.
No problem. Let's see if there's anything around here. I'm not seeing any other suggestions. Did I miss anybody?
I think I'm seeing one right at the below here from Tabletop Time. My favorite DC character is Red Robin.
Here we go.
I super dig sea shanties and Terry Pratchett's Discworld books.
Okay.
So that's going to be an interesting one. That's a bit of a trick. So I'm going to walk and talk while I do this.
No problem. Yeah, do your thing.
Which one of my favorite comic book series is called Runaways, and one of the characters, and this happened a long time ago, they would say, "Oh, we need to West Wing," and they're like, "What does that mean?" It means walk and talk.
Right.
We need to go through this and walk through to kind of get it done. So, so kind of what I'm picking out. For whatever reason, when I'm thinking sea shanties, I'm thinking more of, what's that band? Who's the band that does sea shanties? The Decemberists.
Okay.
And kind of Terry Pratchett. So I'm thinking sort of like darker, whimsical fantasy.
Yeah.
And Red Robin sort of superhero vigilantism. This doesn't line up perfectly with what I'd like for a pick 3.
Yeah.
I definitely recommend a series called Die, that the writer self-describes as goth Jumanji.
Oh wow. Okay.
It's got your fantasy elements. It's got sort of like a lyricism, I would say. I mean, whenever you end up doing sort of like a fantasy role-playing type of story, which is what Die is,
Right.
You also kind of do bring in bards. Yes, I'm stretching on this one. And then Red Hood tends to be a darker character. There's some elements of partnership and betrayal there that you have between the characters, but the basic story behind Die is these kids who come up with their own gaming system, and they end up disappearing for 2 years.
Okay.
And most of them appear later and then never kind of talk about that experience, partly due to the rules of this game that they played. Now, years later, they're called back to this world by the one who was left behind, who is essentially the game master of this world. It's gorgeous, it's dark, and amazing. I'm seeing Tabletop Time saying apologies for the complicated answer, but that sounds right up my alley. It's not a complicated answer. It's just I hold myself to a fairly high standard for pick 3, and I felt like I was stretching a little bit.
You got an answer regardless, so that's good.
Yeah, like
pick.
a lot of times when we do pick three, we'll kind of take it and ruminate on it. So like the quick draw
Yeah.
is, and I'm also a little rusty on it, to be honest, too. But
Okay.
yeah.
Anybody else out there got any? I have a three. It's a show, song, and sorry, what else was there?
Oh yeah, it's three of anything that you want, really.
Okay.
So like things that you're interested in. It could be video games, it could be movies, books, TV, kind of music, like whatever.
All right. Well, I'm probably all over the board. Like my favorite show is like South Park, and
Okay, yeah.
Music like probably Led Zeppelin, to be honest with you, a whole lot of Led. And
Okay.
yeah, I think favorite genre is like sci-fi altogether. So, what could I read? What could you direct me to?
The first two had me pointing towards a book called Murder Falcon.
Okay, I like the naming.
Yeah, I'm just gonna read a bit from the back because it's the easiest way to do it. The world is under attack by monsters, just as Jake's life is falling apart. No band, no girl, no future, until he meets Murder Falcon. Murph is sent from the heavy to destroy all evil, but he can't do it without Jake shredding up a storm. Now, with every chord Jake plays on his guitar, the power of metal fuels Murder Falcon into all-out kung fu fury. In order to stop Earth from being conquered, Jake will have to put his band back together. But will that be enough to rock the entire planet? It's super rad. It sounds a lot goofier, but it sort of brings in that kind of South Park element to it.
I won't even lie. Everything you're saying was right up my alley. I won't even lie about it.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I would direct you initially. The sci-fi, there's another book that I kind of point you towards. But
one more thing. Is there something?
I don't think we have it here, and I can't quite remember what it is. So I'll probably get back to you on that one.
No problem. Take your time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we just gotta wait for Randy now.
Yeah.
Because I saw the Wizards go date.
Yeah.
It wasn't in my file.
No.
So I thought, hey, must be something there.
I got a question for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, as far as titles go, there's probably some like, I'm guessing there's some that's under the radar, some that people no one's ever heard of, or you know what I mean. Like, do you have any suggestions like titles that that are not really huge right now, but are just like super excellent reads?
Oh, absolutely. That's kind of our jam here, quite honestly.
Right on.
So like, I'm really into a book right now. They run it as a series of miniseries. It's called Undone by Blood.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically like a modern revenge western.
Oh, I like that.
So it's this modern revenge story intercut with like fake pages from a fake old western story that sort of line up with what's happening. It takes sort of the older elements of and somewhat regressive elements of some western stories, builds it into the story, but then recontextualizes it in this modern happening, basically.
Okay.
Super amazing. The art by it's Sammy Cavella.
Okay.
Is just outstanding. They have to be one of the best under the radar comics artists today, especially in terms of layout and what they do with timing and directing your eye and all that kind of stuff.
Right on. Yeah, they know how to use a panel.
Yeah, absolutely. Another one that I would suggest, especially for horror fans, is a book called Infidel, which is one of the creepiest books that I've ever read. It's basically kind of like Get Out, but if it had been focused on sort of post 9/11 Islamophobia type of
Oh,
thing.
okay, yeah, okay.
Hmm.
And so it takes place in New York. It is built around those insecurities, and comics cannot do jump scares, but this one manages it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, like you turn the page and you see these images and you're like, oh my goodness. Like it's astounding.
Some shock to it. It's very rare you can get a panel to do that without without coming off too overhanded or you know what I mean, heavy-handed, I should say. So I mean, I have to take a look at it. Give me that title again. What was it called? Infidel?
Infidel, yeah.
Yeah, let's look into that. Okay.
So I have one more round of our pick 3 game that we're playing.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So this person's favorite song is "Master of Puppets" by Metallica.
Sick song.
The last show they watched and really enjoyed was a high score. It's a video game documentary.
Good, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And their favorite book, or last book they read anyway, was Of Mice and Men.
Ooh.
Okay, so we're talking. All right, let me map this out in my head. So we're like
For sure.
some more heavy metal type elements. The second one was sorry, yeah. Say the second one again.
It was it's called High Score. It's a video game in the history of video games documentary.
Oh yeah. Okay, so potentially something historical, but something at least kind of more video gamey, and then Of Mice and Men, sort of like an old time kind of epic, more style story. Okay. Let's do a little bit of another walk around.
He's cooking.
Yeah. So the metal elements and sort of I'm gonna put a bit of a gamify element in there and do an epic. I'm thinking more something called Fear Agent. Now it doesn't kind of hit the tone of Mice and Men, but sort of the epic story about family is really laced into the story. So Fear Agent is about essentially a dude, but you kind of find out more about his family and the choices he's made. And I guess it does sort of bring a little bit of Mice and Men in there, because it's the core of the story is sort of the interpersonal choices that he's made that is kind of like burdened his family and all that kind of stuff in the midst of, say, a fairly a metal landscape of aliens that have kind of swarmed Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So something's happened to Earth. He is supposedly the only fear agent left. This group that is fighting aliens, and it's a story that probably has one of the most perfect endings that I've ever read. Okay. Built meticulously kind of through the story. But the big ideas that Rick Remender puts in there is really good. But yeah, just kind of like it's a weirdly personal story about kind of the choices that people make in regards to themselves and their family and the people that they care about, hidden inside this big kind of space pulpy metalized epic with sort of each volume sort of does kind of feel like a level that you're kind of progressing through. Mm-hmm. Like you figured out this level. All right, well, this is actually happening. Okay, you figured out this level. Well, actually, this is happening. And sort of that's sort of where I'm pulling in the more gamified elements into it.
Right.
Yeah, also not one of my best, but
but those are some wild takes, right? And that's I suppose is just kind of the fun part about playing this game, is breaking everything down into sort of its core aspects. Like, we heard you do that live on this show, and I was blown away on how you did that, honestly.
Well, thank you. And honestly, too, part of it is it's usually a starting point. Sometimes if you nail it, like that's all it is.
Hmm.
Other times the person will be like, I mean, okay, but like I I don't quite like this flavor or this flavor, right? And so then you kind of go off in another direction, and it actually kind of opens the person up to sometimes things that they didn't know that they loved, and other times it's just the prompt that kind of gets them going instead of like, oh, I don't know, is what you'll get a lot.
Right.
Right. And I imagine this is also a way for people, like when you break it down that specific way, it is very much a way for someone to hear their favorite properties dissected, and also to like just sort of jump genres that way.
Exactly. And yeah, it's about pulling out flavors and kind of discovering what would be good for folks.
Okay. Thank you very much for being on our show this evening.
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much for having me and dealing with my nonsense.
Not at
No,
all.
please, it
You're
is
great.
our absolute pleasure.
Yeah, you're fantastic.
Again, just like our previous interview, our door is our digital door is very, very much open to have you on for any show we might have on in the future.
Brandon's cool in the fact that when I brought up Xenozoic Tales, he knew exactly what I was talking about right away, and he was just like, everybody should love Cadillacs and dinosaurs. So I'm like, this guy knows his stuff, so I'm gonna have to come here frequent this place for sure.
here's
So
a
much
here's
so-
a here's a very online update about that. So it's temporary out of print until the summer, until June.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's probably when I'll be bugging you next about that specifically.
Okay.
Though something cool to look at that we found on sale that we ordered in that should be in soon is, they call it an artist edition.
Okay.
And so it reproduces the art of the book with like the lettering kind of plugged in and everything like that
Right.
at the size that it was produced,
Really?
with full color scans. So you get to see all the like little bits that were erased, that were the blue line, the everything.
Okay.
So that could even be something to just even look at next time you're in the store.
I will let me know when that comes through, and I'll definitely come in and take a look at that.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
appreciate this store so much. Officially, this is the Nerd Crusades comic store of
Choice.
comic store of choice.
Yeah.
And so much
Oh,
so
awesome.
that we've set
That's
up a
so
file
cool. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we've already got a couple things aside for you folks. So
Perfect.
there. Excellent. We will have somebody pick that up soon-ish.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, no worries.
I mean,
Yeah.
I live the closest. That's no problem for me.
No problem.
Okay. Once again, it was an absolute pleasure to have you on, and we look forward to having you on another show in another time.
Yeah.
That
And looking
sounds
forward to see you
wonderful.
soon when we looking forward to see you soon when we get a chance to come to your store again.
Very cool. We'll see you folks around.
Yeah,
Have
take
yourself a
care.
good day.
You too. Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for sticking around for our interview with Variant Edition with Brandon from Variant Edition. It is now our absolute pleasure to set up ourselves for a speed run of Devil May Cry 3. This unique opportunity is brought to you by our friend of the show, Treffy. On this event, we will have Treffy actually playing the game, and we will have our very own Beastie doing either solo commentary or co-commentary, depending on how Treffy feels this evening. We're going to put on some music just to allow ourselves some time to set ourselves up, and we will see you guys after the music.
I don't know how I get lost on the where the statements misplaced have led us to where you can break it down to basics. Stand in front and face it. I'm mistaken for a blessing, and that's why you let me in your private thoughts. Where traces are left, hints of casualty on your breath. So I'm a carbon copy option, and not to be forgotten. And once the pain runs
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my disservice to tell you that to make some of our game capture work tonight, we will need to be doing a reset of this stream. What that means is this stream will be offline for all about 40 seconds. We will be right back with the problem-solving fix-it that is to make the play private. My apologies to have to run it this way, but that is in fact the case. We will see everybody in about 40 seconds.